Live. Yep. Let's go.
All right, this is episode 26 of An Eternity of Basketball. And this morning here in Manila, we have the great privilege to have with us one of the few resident imports ever in PBA history. So he comes to us. He was part of the Alaska Milkmen, the Air Force, the Aces. So he was there throughout the big chunk of the success of that Alaska franchise. Of course, I'm Charlie Cuna together with Sid Ventura, Noel Zarate. And today we have with us Mr. Sean Chambers, the second Mr. 100%. But to the fans of the Alaska Aces, he will always be number one in their hearts. So, Sean, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here. And shout out to you guys. I've been watching all your shows, and I got a chance to see the one with Coach Tim and was it Francis Weiser?
Yeah, we got Francis Wise on.
Yeah, I watched that. That was really a good interview. So I really enjoyed watching these shows. It's been pretty cool to reminisce some of the Filipino legends.
Well, that's great to hear
Thank you.
that you're
Thank
enjoying
you.
and then there's a lot of people obviously tuned in right now, waiting to hear what you have to share with us based on your stories. How did Sean Chambers get into basketball to start with? Was it your first love as a sport? Did someone influence you to get into this sport, which you would take to the Philippines and you'd be here for such a long period of time?
Yeah, that's a good question, man, because I really grew up starting playing baseball when I was younger. I lived in a part of Sacramento where most of the guys, we all play baseball. And then going into my middle school years in high school, we relocated from the south side of Sacramento to the north side. And then everybody that was living on the north side, they were kind of affiliated with the United States Air Force Base. And the Air Force Base had such an international feeling, and a lot of the guys were all drawn to playing basketball. And once I actually got my first taste of basketball, I was all in because I was high energy, play with so much intensity, and I could never get enough of it. So it just fit my blood.
How old were you when you started getting into basketball?
Really, I started late. So it was really going into my eighth grade year, about 13, 14 years old. But when I started, I was like a locomotive train. Like I couldn't stop. I was just training, practicing. And I always just wanted to work harder than everybody else. So it was just like an addictive thing to me.
Well, Sean, when you were starting out playing basketball, that everybody, you said 13, 14, that's a time when usually a lot of kids your age would have a growth spurt. Then you got stuck at 6'1", but you still played at the inside. How'd that work out for you?
So what happened was when I was coming up, with my eighth and ninth grade year, I was training so hard, but I was trained to be super athletic. So I was running hills and running bleachers and running stairs. So at 6'1", I was very dominating around the basket, even in high school. And so I had a thing where I hated missing. I didn't like missing a lot of shots. I always wanted to be proficient as possible. So the closer I was by the rim, the way I could be more prolific around the basket was where my comfort zone was. It wasn't until later on, like going into the 96 season and 95 season, I stayed with one of my teammates, Ruel Gomez, stayed the whole year and worked with Coach Tim, and started to improve my mid-range jumper. And, from 95, 96 is when I was probably at the top of my game because of that.
Was it tough? I mean, because you did say that you're trying to get as close to the basket as you can, but you're not one of the biggest guys on the court. I'm sure you played against guys in the States, especially. It's normal to have 6'6", 6'7", maybe 6'10" guys playing with you. So what did you do to become effective, even if these big guys were there in front of you?
So my skill level would work for me, and we kind of put everybody in kind of a mix. Was like if you put a bigger guy on me, they still would come away from the basket. And so I was able to create like a crossover dribble, my go-to move where I would fake right, go left, and I had a quick step. So I was very explosive off my first step or second step. So it made it difficult for the big guys to cover me, because then I would get out and run on breaks, so they couldn't keep up with me running the court. So then you would put a little guy on me, and then the little guy would be too small to play with me around the basket, because I can, I was just such a bigger time athlete than those guys that can cover me. Mm-hmm. So the guy that was most effective against me really were the guys that were like 6'5", 6'6". Those were the guys that I was like, okay, they were probably still athletic enough to stay in front of me, create backup so I didn't blow by them, or they were too big for me to really jump over like I was doing against the 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" guys.
Okay.
I'm sure when you were starting out, Sean, you had a role model to pattern your game after, even if you did start off late. Who were your early role models, NBA players, or probably some college players as well?
Yeah, so Adrian Dantley was a classic back-to-the-back
Yeah,
player.
makes sense.
Mark Aguirre was another like kind of a post-up guy that I loved Mark Aguirre's game growing up, and then I was a super fan of Dr. J. So Dr. J was flying and jumping over people, but then Mark Aguirre, Adrian Dantley, they would back guys up at their size, and they were super effective around the basket. So they were 6'4", 6'5", and Charles Barkley, just a little taller than me, but they made a great career in the NBA by being able to have a post-up game, because most guards couldn't defend it because they didn't work on it,
It's funny because those two players, sorry, Gardis, those two players were traded for each other, right? In '89, depriving Dantley actually of a ring, which I think he's still upset about up to this day.
I don't think he doesn't get that ring. But but you think about it, Adrian Dantley was an all-star. And a lot of people didn't know that back then. He was an all-star with the skill level that he had, and he never stepped away from the basket. And so was Mark Aguirre. Mark Aguirre was an all-star, and he was pretty much effective, completely everything around the basket by up and unders and drop steps or using the backboard. Adrian Dantley was the one that got me using the backboard. He was a phenomenal shooter off the backboard.
Yeah, Dantley was amazing. He was compared. He was compared to guys like Chamberlain and Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as guys who can effectively score inside. But he was shorter than them by 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So he was really one of the guys that I kind of draw to. And then, like I said, Dr. J, you can run down the court and fly by people and then dunk over them was like such an exhilarating feeling,
Well, later on in the NBA, who did you see Sean Chambers like? When the NBA started developing, of course, the game's changed a lot. But who sort of plays like Sean Chambers when you were watching the NBA as an older person?
Again, at my age, it was still Charles Barkley. So Charles Barkley was, he moved away from the basket later on in his career, and that kind of influenced me to do the same with my game. Like I said, in '95 and '96, I started stepping away a little bit more from the basket. But then I'm trying to think, who would I say like nowadays? I will say this, I'm nowhere near Kobe Bryant, but Kobe Bryant became more effective when he was doing more around the basket moves. He was able to get the smaller guards to the basket, and he was able to create offense with back to the basket. But he was by far more prolific, be able to step away as well. So he became so incredible gifted when he was able to go both ways, inside and outside. And a lot of the NBA guys are not like that. They're pretty much, I won't say one-trick ponies, but they're kind of like, you're a three-point shooter, you're a pick-and-roll guy, or you a pick-and-pop guys nowadays. So even today, there's not a lot of backup post players like there used to be, like in the PBA when we had June Linput and Noli Luxine and Dennis Espino. We don't really have a lot of those guys anymore. Danny I, for that matter. Danny I was pretty much incredible with his back to the basket. He was unstoppable.
When you
Sean,
were, go ahead, Sid. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Sean, you attended Cal Poly for your collegiate experience. Could you just tell us about what happened there?
So I believe God has always had a plan in my life, and I'm so blessed to be in the situation I'm in today, and even still continue to receive these blessings from the Philippines. But I believe a lot of it started with my history at Cal Poly. So I started off, a lot of people know, I started off at a junior college called Cuesta College. It's a small junior college in San Luis Obispo, same place as Cal Poly. And I became kind of a local star there at the junior college. It was like such a wave of support and became kind of a little local celebrity at the junior college. So then I end up going to the university and going to San Luis Obispo. And I became the first basketball All-American. Actually, I'm the only basketball All-American in the school history. Like my plaque's up here, right here. And so I had pretty much the whole town of San Luis Obispo were coming out to our games, and they were coming to support us. So it started preparing for me to stay humble, appreciate the success that I'm having in basketball, but always, thank God for putting me in this place to be successful, but stay humble and you'll always continue to be rewarded, and always include your teammates in all your success, because you don't do anything without your teammates. So I just had an amazing career. Like, I had a chance to go to Loyola Marymount, and then I had a chance to go to Fresno State, and I was also getting recruited by UNLV back then when Jerry Tarkanian was there. So, but I ended up, like, something kept me at Cal Poly, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So right now I'm inducted into the Cal Poly Hall of Fame, and it is, if you don't know anything about Cal Poly, it's one of the most prestigious universities in California. It's an amazing place to go to. I was just there actually yesterday. We were with my family. We were in San Luis Obispo visiting, and it's just an amazing university. It's an amazing place to go to school. It's a high level education, and to be enshrined into the university's Hall of Fame that will be there until this school, right, forever. I will be enshrined at that university because of my choice of going there. So forever grateful for my experience at Cal Poly. Two-time league championships. We were two-time league championships, and I was 2 back-to-back league MVP of the league. So amazing. I was player of the year back-to-back. Yeah. So just an amazing career there. Back then, our rivals were like UC Riverside, who's also D1 now, Bakersfield. We played at University of Irvine, University of Riverside, and those were kind of and Northridge were our main competition back then. And they're all basically, it's kind of funny. They're all D1s now, but they're all
right.
They're all the same teams. They're still in the same league. Yeah.
You know, but you mentioned Cal Riverside. They just hired a Filipino coach.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, I want to get a chance to go down there.
Mike Magpayo.
So that's a great development, right? I mean, a Filipino heading a D1 program. That's amazing. Who was your coach when you were at Cal Poly, and was he your coach for all the years you were there? And what did he teach you?
See, and that's kind of funny because that's another good story. So my first coach there was a guy named Ernie Wheeler. So Ernie Wheeler was kind of a strict disciplinary guy, just real tough-minded, and he was good for me because I had to basically man up in a lot of situations. A lot of situations I had to grow up a lot faster than what I was doing at the junior college. But then due to some issues with him at the university, they let him go going into my senior year. And then a guy named Steve Beeson took over. So we had to go through that adjustment of first time ever I ever had a coach that I signed with or for high school or junior college or college that ended up getting fired right before the next season. So that was a very tough time because I was thinking about transferring, leaving the university, but I'm glad I stayed, and we ended up winning another championship after that. So those were my two coaches in 2 years at the university.
All right.
Just wondering, I'm looking at your bio. You were known as a basketball player, but also you got some looks as a guy who was involved in athletics, especially the high jump. There was also a story that you were supposed to be part of the U.S. Olympic team, but not as a basketball player, but as a high jumper. Right. What's that story like? Okay,
that is a kind of a false story, but true story all at the same time. Okay. All right. So I was a really good high jumper, but I was not a great high jumper. So what happens is when I was at junior college, I high jumped 7 foot, almost 1 inches. And took third in the state championships. And in high school, I jumped 7 foot, and I took third in the California State Championship. So back then, the limit was if you jumped 7 foot, you automatically got an invite to the United States Olympic trials. Okay. So now I think the height is like 7'3", 7'4". You have to jump that in order to get invited. So I could have got invited to the Olympic trials, but I think the guy that was representing the United States Olympics in high jump was jumping like 7'7" and 7'8" and 7'6". Wow! I was nowhere clear of that. I was nowhere close to that. So, and full disclosure, I never practiced. I just jumped over the bar. So, and one of my best friends, Mike Bradley, one of my high school buddies, he was my so-called coach. And the way he would coach me would always tease me like, "Oh, you barely made it over the bar. What are you doing? Come on, you can do better than that." And little did I know I'd be like 5 feet over the bar, but I just kind of took 1, 2, 3, 4 steps like I would do dunk a basketball, and I would just turn over. So, and because of my work ethic of running and training to get better for basketball so I can jump over people, it just worked for high jumping. and I actually had a really phenomenal career in high jumping. It's pretty cool, you know.
Would have been great if you made the Olympics, though. But the high jumping has a lot to do with technique, right? And I guess repetition and all of that. So you probably didn't have the same passion doing that as you did for basketball.
My training was going to basketball practice, and I would make sure when I would dunk in basketball practice or going open gym, I would dunk backwards. So that would be my training for high. I promise you. And my coach in the junior college, my track coach, would be so upset with me because he wanted me out on the track to work on technique and my run up and my flip over the bar. But I'm like, Coach, I'm really not a high jumper. I'm only doing it because you're asking me to and it's fun. I go, but I'm a basketball player. I need to be in the gym getting better. So we were always bumping heads in junior college. But my high school coach, he knew. He was like, you're a basketball guy. Just go jump over the bar every now and then and come back go back and play basketball. So he was all good. My college coach.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not so good. My college coach was not so good. He was like, no, you need to be out here training. So
before Sid asks his question, I just want to say that we're the opposite, Sean. I tried out for the basketball team, but I ended up being a high jumper in high school.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're the opposite. So go ahead, Sid.
No, yeah, well, no, I just wanted to jump right into what happened after you finished at Cal Poly, and you got called up to represent Los Angeles Jaguars in this new tournament being held here in the Philippines, the PBA IBA World Challenge. How did that happen? How were you informed of the formation of that team?
So I got invited to go try out to this IBA All-Stars. It was going to be in Los Angeles. And when I got there, I thought it was absolutely nuts because I believe it was like somewhere 200 to 300 guys there for a tryout spot that they were only going to take, I believe, 10 guys out of this camp to go to Fresno for the overall camp to make this team. So I'm like, there's no way on God's green earth I'm going to make this team, right? There's no way. And I'm coming from back then, Cal Poly was a small school, compared to UCLA and all the other bigger schools, right? So I go to this tryout and I played phenomenal. And lo and behold, I get called and say, hey, you made it. You're going to now go to Fresno. I mean, you can't even make this up, right? You can't even make this up. So I go from there. Out of 300 guys, I'm one of 10 guys that make it to go to Fresno. We get to Fresno, and it's like now 60 guys because there's guys from all over the country. There was a tryout in LA, there was a tryout in New York, there was a tryout in Chicago, and there was a tryout in Dallas. So we all meet in Fresno to try to do like a camp, and then all together from there, we're gonna go tour Korea, Philippines. We had a stop in Hong Kong and Japan. So I go there, and again, I'm like the last guy who's supposed to make the team, I'm sure. And then I just wow the coaches and wow the staff, and out of the 60 guys, I make the team. And then again, I'm from the small university, and I'm not supposed to be one of the last guys to be playing. I just watched a couple of the videos. I have the video when it was on ESPN when we played in Korea. I played the most minutes out of everybody. I had the highest scoring average of everybody, and yet was the most unheralded player of everybody that was on that team. But it was just all pure desire and work ethic.
Just to inform the viewers, this team was composed of players 6'3" and below, right? That the league was for
6'5".
6'5" and below. Sorry,
6'5". Yeah,
6'5" and below. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a 6'5" and under league that they were trying to form, right? So
and so from there. Yeah, so from there, we got a chance to go to Korea, and it's such an amazing. I got this game on tape, and I was watching with my son, and it's so cool to go back and watch this. It was just such a great feeling. But then we go to the Philippines. Had no idea. We flew in like at nighttime in Manila. Had no idea anything about the Philippines and things like that. And everybody was just one guy, Ray Hall. You guys may remember Sugar Ray Hall.
Yeah, I was going to ask about it. Yeah.
So Ray Hall kept telling us the whole trip. Once we get to the Philippines, we can all get a contract. We can all get paid. We can all leave with a team if we play well there. And the rest of us had no idea what he was talking about. Zero. We had no idea. We were just happy to make the team. We were happy. We're traveling across the country. We're like, country places we never heard of in our life. We never thought about my life ever imagined going to the Philippines. Never in my life would I imagine going to Korea. I went to Hong Kong and Japan. So we were just happy for the trip. And so when we got over to the Philippines and saw the love of basketball in our first basketball game, then we were just all completely blown away. Everybody on that team was.
What was your first impression when you got to the Philippines? I know you came in at night, but when it turned into day, what was your first impression of the country?
So, in all honesty and disclosure, because I love the country, this is my second home. But when I got there in I think that was 1988 or 87.
87.
Yeah, 87. So when we got there in 87, we were still going through major changes in the country, and major transitioning from the old regime to the new regime. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, there were a lot of hard-hit places in the Philippines that I've never seen in my life. So I got out. I remember we flew in at nighttime. We go to Rojas Boulevard, and we stayed at a hotel over there. Almost Salai's Hotel was the Salai's Hotel. Yeah, we stayed at the Salai's Hotel.
There was a nice disco.
The disco. Yeah. We went to the Stargazer up top. Yes, we did. So. Yeah, so I get up and I decide, like I've done in some of the other places, I just naturally done this in every place I've been. Just went out and just kind of walked the street to kind of get a feel for where I'm at. I got a feel for my surroundings. I got a feel for what it felt like in the city and the culture. And pretty much every place I played, I've done this. I just kind of go out and go walk. And so I got out to Rojas Boulevard, and it was kind of the first time I've ever seen at that time. It was a lot tougher then than it is now, like a third world country and the country that was going through so much transition, and people actually working in the streets and riding in a jeepney and things of that nature. So it was a little bit shocking. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Where am I at? And then after my first or second day there, I realized that everybody in the country only want your respect. Don't disrespect them. Appreciate the place that you're in, but appreciate that they're hardworking Filipinos and they're not looking for sympathy. Just appreciate the work that they're doing. I was all in after my third or fourth day in the Philippines. I was like, I want to come back and live here.
So what was that? What was the turning point for you? Why did you want to become part of the Philippine culture?
Because that's how I grew up. Because I grew up single mother. We grew up very not as fortunate as other kids in my community. My mother really struggled hard for us to make it, and we were kind of we scrapped for everything we had in our life. I mean, really, we really scrapped and struggled to make ends meet every day in our lives in Sacramento, and I felt like I can appreciate this work ethic that's happening in the Philippines and what people go through to be to live, daily. And so, and then also, I knew that I would never put myself above anybody that was there in the Philippines or feel like I was bigger or better or deserve more than anybody that was there. One of my biggest moments in the Philippines was in that tournament. Again, unbeknownst to me, I probably won't do it today, but I went up and sat up in the crowd with the Ginebra crowds up in the top bleachers at the Ultra. and all the newspaper reporters were like, whoa, what's going on with this guy? What's he doing up there? I'm okay. I'm fine. I want to go watch it with the people that I want to rub elbows with. So, and that became kind of a legendary story that I was sitting there with cheering with the Ginebra fans, who later became the ones who cheered against me the most.
Yes, definitely. I'm sure. They showed you a lot of hate, which is a lot of love, actually.
Yeah.
Over here. I wanted to ask about the team, Sean, the LA Jaguars. You were practically just fresh out of college. You were a young kid, maybe 21, 22. How about the other guys? Were they about the same age? Were they fresh grads, or were some of them veterans who had played already abroad or in other pro leagues in the States?
Russell Brown was a guy who'd been around. He played in the NBA for a little bit, Indiana Pacers, and he was a graduate from University of Arizona. He was kind of like our older statesman. Ray Hall was a guy who's been out of college, I think maybe 1 or 2 years, and had been playing in the CBA. But for the most part of it, most of us was like right out of college, and most of us was straight. That was our senior year in college, and then we toured that year. So great guys. Bobby Ray Crockett, I believe his name. I just saw that he passed away a couple of years ago. Rest his soul. But he was my roommate. Roy Hubbard. I mean, there were some really good guys. You know, I actually was going through looking at those videos. I was kind of looking up on social media to see if I can find some of those guys. And I found Ray Hall, and I told Ray Hall I wouldn't be where I was in the Philippines if it wasn't for him. So he thanked me.
He was great. He was a great player. We remember him. Sugar Ray Hall, they called him, and he was.
He got a call.
He also played as an import, right? Yeah, Pure Foods.
Yes.
But he got injured. I think he got injured, so he wasn't able to finish.
Hand.
Diving for a loose ball. I remember that.
I
remember that.
Yeah. He broke his hand. He was having a great career there, and he broke his hand, I think, in a game and never came back again.
But it was just the two of you who made it as imports. I mean, because he was saying that a lot of you might get contracts, but it just ended up the two of you, right?
Right. It was just the two of us. And I don't know. I don't know why that was, because there were some other kid guys that they're pretty talented, but I think Ray and I both had such an instant love for the Philippines and the Philippine culture.
Yeah, I remember, Sean, before you guys flew in, there was a lot of hype in the media about this team coming in to play the top three teams of the All Filipino Conference. And one of the reports that came in was when a former import tried out but didn't make the cut, and I think it was Jeff Collins, who actually won Best Import in 1985.
Yeah.
But then we're hearing he got cut. So I remember thinking, man, how good are these guys if Jeff Collins wasn't able to make the final 12? So, there's a lot of mystique when you guys were about ready to play. No one knew what to expect. Scouting back then wasn't, there was no internet, social media.
Right.
So then you play, and then what was your first impression on the Philippine style of play? I can't remember which team you played against first, but how was that?
I don't remember, but we were very good. We were a very talented team. It was kind of fun to play. We played a fast pace, and we were very talented. We had such a good group of guys, a little bit of everything. Larry Middleton was really amazing. I don't know if you guys remember that guy. Larry Middleton. I don't know if he came back or not, but I just saw he just retired playing somewhere in Europe just now, like at 44. I mean, no, almost 50. He's almost 50. So he's almost 50. Yes, I just saw that. He retired like late 40 something. But Larry Middleton was such an amazing player. He would have been an amazing player in the Philippines, but he ended up finding a home in Europe somewhere. But all I remember that tournament, honestly, is that Philip Cesar hit me in the back of my head. I remember that. And after
that's not surprising, actually.
Night, I remember Philip Cesar. Hit me in the back of my head. I don't even remember who won that, or if we won it or not. I don't even think we won it. I don't think we did.
You did. You guys beat Great Taste. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys beat Great Taste in the championship.
With Dexter Shouts.
Great Taste had, I think they recruited Shouts, and Bobby played for San Miguel.
San Miguel. Okay, so we beat Bobby and San Miguel. Okay, so we did win it. So yeah, I do remember that. We did win it. So, but I remember, Cesar, was he playing with Great Taste at the time?
Yes, he was.
Okay, it was in a championship game. That's what it was. Championship game, he elbowed me in the back of my head super hard. And I was like, what is going on? I remember that. But I remember Dexter Shout was absolutely phenomenal player. He was so talented. And I remember he was talented. And I believe they had the Twalights. Did they have Twalights at the time? Great Taste back then?
Yes,
Twalights.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so he was also very talented for his size. And I remember I was amazed by Mon Fernandez playing with San Miguel at his height, what he can do. And I've always been a fan of Hector Cama from that day. Watching his point guard skills was amazing. No offense to Hector, but I thought Hector was so incredible until I met a guy by the name of Johnny Aberrante.
A lot of people feel the same way.
Yeah, just to follow up on Sid's question, you just came from Korea. You had a Korean basketball was, they just love to shoot. But when you come to the Philippines, the physicality level just got up, probably even worse than the NBA. Or just tell us about the adjustment to the physicality that you had to go.
You're 100% right, because what we did, we had a couple of scrimmages in Fresno. We had a couple teams come and play. I think we played like the Canadian national team at one time. Very easygoing basketball. We fly over to Japan. Then we go over to Korea. And we actually played 3 games in Korea. And they were like friendly. We went out to dinner with them. We had a couple of meetings at the embassy. They were just gentle. Nobody fouls you. They pick you up. And everybody shoots 3. There's no post up. So that's why it worked for us to go to Korea first too, because even though they had a couple guys that were like 6'8", 6'9", they never post up. Everything was like the European style now. Everything was a kick out 3-point shot. And they were phenomenal, right? They were phenomenal shooters. So then we get to Manila, and then it was like, wow. It was like playing street basketball, physical, like no harm, no foul.
Yep.
Like the thing about it is, like, for the Americans and for some of us that grew up in tough neighborhoods, it was what we were kind of used to, like when we go to the parks or to the open gyms. But you do get to call fouls at home when you're in an open park gym. But now it was like you can take a hard foul or you can take a hard hit, and then it's still not a foul because there was no harm, no foul. If the shot went in, there's no foul. And then it was like, it took us a while to get used to it, but once we got used to it, we were very successful later on in the tournament.
You did win it, and there was also a side event to that tournament, the slam dunk competition.
That's what put you on the map, actually.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
You went up against 2 guys named Parks and Bates.
Yes. Yes.
And you actually beat them in that slam dunk competition, right?
That's funny. I never knew Bobby Parks was in that slam dunk contest.
Wow.
I thought he was in the one the next year, so I didn't know I beat Bobby in that one. That's one I need to hang my hat on. I need to know that I beat Bobby as well as Baby Ray Bates. That's pretty amazing right there, actually.
Yeah. So Baby Ray Bates was like a god. Was like a basketball god over here. So you're beating him was big.
Black Superman.
Yes.
Everybody tell me you're gonna go against the Black Superman, and I'm like, yes, okay. And they're like, no. Everybody at the Salinas Hotel, you're gonna go against the Black Superman. What are you gonna do? And they be like, Ano Bayan Pare, you're gonna go against the Black Superman. And I'm like, okay, bring it on. Bring me the Black Superman. And so we're at Vintage at the studio. We're doing some commercials, or we're doing some promotion for the tournament. And everybody there at Vintage, you're gonna go against the Black Superman. What do you have to say for yourself? And I made a comment. I go, I do not care about the Black Superman. I'm going to be kryptonite to the Black Superman. He doesn't have a chance. The next day, all the newspaper had that reported that Chambers is going to take down the Black Superman. And I was like, oh my God. And then I realized, again, I have to be very careful what I say, because there's people everywhere and there's newspaper writers everywhere, you know?
Correct.
So,
for a story,
so we're getting ready for the dunk contest, and I'm out there, you know, I'm stressed. It's just him and I now. It's just a championship round, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he comes out. Everybody stands up in the ultra. Everybody's going screaming crazy. He comes out in a black cape that had a Superman on it. Way before Shaquille O'Neal, way before
Dwight
Howard. He wore the Superman cape. And I'm like, what is going on here? I absolutely claim the fame, and he missed the last dunk.
Yeah, he did. The kryptonite worked.
The kryptonite worked. He missed the last dunk. I think I still have that big check in my garage that they gave me, 25,000 pesos. Yeah, I kept that thing forever. Heck yeah. So the next day, again, like I told you, I used to like to walk around. So I started going to the Dunkin' Donuts by the Salinas Hotel. And then the next day there was a 7-Eleven there. So I get one of the players, two or three of the players, we went and walked with me, and we go to the Dunkin' Donuts, we go to the 7-Eleven. And we're over by Salinas Hotel off of Royal House Boulevard. Literally, we're in there for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then it's time for us to go outside of the 7-Eleven. I swear the whole neighborhood had completely rushed the 7-Eleven because they saw me beat the Black Superman.
Right.
Instant celebrity. We had to get, actually, some of the guards outside had to help us walk back to the hotel because people were just coming out of the houses and some of the neighborhood just to touch me now. They go, you beat the Black Superman. You beat you beat Billy Ray Bates. Everybody thumbs up, everybody was crazy. I was like, okay, instant celebrity superstar now.
Yeah. So that was great. I mean, Billy Ray Bates was
really that's a great story. Actually, you put you on the map.
Yeah.
But then you had to wait a while before you came back to get an offer here in the Philippines. You'd fallen in love with the country. It's like waiting for your love of your life to say yes to your proposal.
Yeah.
But it took a while. It took over a year before you finally got an offer. And it came in the form of you having to replace Carl Lott at the Alaska team. So what was that story like?
So crazy story. I was actually flying back from a tournament with the Jaguars. We had went to Syracuse and played a tournament. I was flying back with them, and I was in LAX. And then I got a call over the intercom. Only once in my life has this ever happened. I got a call over the intercom. Back then we didn't have cell phones, and we all saw the movie where you heard, you got a call on the white courtesy phone. Mm-hmm. So you instantly, your heart dropped because you think it's a family member or something, because that's what they were.
Right.
What happened in the movies. So I pick up the phone, and it's a guy, Ron Howard. He was a good friend of Coach Jacob. Ron Jacobs, one of Ron Jacobs' best friends. Coach Howard was one of the guys who actually helped get me on the Jaguar team on the IBL team when I first started. Mm-hmm. So he says, "Hey, the team from the Philippines, Alaska, they want you to fly back to the Philippines. They want to replace a guy. They want to know if you're available." And I didn't have an agent. I didn't have an agent at the time. I was like, when do they want me to leave? They go, you need to leave like tomorrow or the next day. I was at the airport. So I was like, well, there's no sense in me going back to Cal Poly right now, because I was still living at the university. I was still living out there. I'll just stay at the airport. I have my passport. I called my mother, told her that I'm going to the Philippines, I guess, and I'm going to be leaving tomorrow. So off I went. So I got to practice, got there, landed, and it was a different Alaska team at the time. Boggs Ordonado was there for one practice, if I recall, maybe two, because he was replaced right away after I got there. Mm-hmm. I maybe played for him 1 or 2 games, and then Tim became like the consultant. And it's kind of funny, Mr. Uitintu, Fred actually coached 1 game. he could have coached him. He could have coached my first game, maybe. That's actually, I have to look that one up too.
Okay.
So I go there. Frankie Lim is the reason why I wear number 20, because he had number 22 at the time. So I grew up wearing 22 my whole career. My son always asked me that, why did I wear 20 in the Philippines? And I go, blame Frankie Lim, who was one of my best friends at the time, but it's his fault. But there was a very unique dynamic on the team. We had old guys like Frankie, Abigidabin, who was just my mentor of all mentors, because he was a great guy. If you want to learn about the Philippine culture and growing up being a proud Filipino, and I don't think there was anybody more prouder than Abigidabin.
Yes.
So B-Boy Ravanas, Ricky Relosa and Yo-Yo Villamin, the Bruise Brothers, a young Don Polistico. Then we have the young guys. We have Rick Murata, Eric Altamirano, Boy Cabajo, and Bong Alvarez. So we were such a weird mix of team, right? We had all these young rookies, and I was considered a rookie, basically. It was my first professional contract. So we had like 5 rookies and then these old veterans, and it was just kind of a crazy, unique try to get us to vibe on the same page and kind of change the culture of Alaska basketball.
But then I don't remember anymore what happened. Sorry, go, Charlie.
No, 1990. You made the finals.
Yes.
In 1990. But you were actually up, I think, 2-0 in the series. But then you lost.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's one of the worst memories of my life. Thank you for that.
we need to do these things. I'm sorry, But we need to talk about that, because you obviously you bounced back in the years to come. But that was the start of it all.
Honestly, that was the hardest. One of my worst, saddest feelings in my life. Still today, I still remember how we lost it. I still remember being up 2-0 against Pure Foods, and Pure Foods was so dominating young guys coming into the league. Like, they were already loaded, and one of their imports in one of the game had to fly back to the States. Like, is it Rose, Derrick Rose? Because they had Queen in there.
Rob Rose.
Yeah,
Rob Rose. Rob Rose had to leave back to the States for like 1 or 2 games and then came back. I think he had like a family situation. But then he came back for game 5. So we had a chance to put him away when they had 1 import. And we didn't. And we were up 2-0. And I'll tell you this. When I got there to the country and played my first tournament in '89, and I came and filled in a little bit early that year, my whole desire was to win a championship. When I saw San Miguel win the Grand Slam in '89, my focus was that feeling and the euphoria of winning a championship and winning it all. You know, a friend of mine here in the States, a guy named Dave Ingram, he played over in Greece. He told me one time, he said, winning a championship at any level is a huge accomplishment because it's not easy to win a championship. At any level, no matter where you play, wherever you go, at any level of basketball, it is hard to win a championship because everything needs to fall into place. So here we are 2-0, and I recruited Carlos Clark because Carlos Clark and I played together in Canada in the IBL league, the 6'5" and under league. And Carlos was such a great guy, such a hard worker, stoic, very emotionless, but he was just such a skilled player, former NBA guy and a CBA legend. I recruited Carlos. We were there to win it, and we let it slip by. We lost 3 games in a row. And I even think I can remember. I think it was either Franz Pamard or Al Sola. Somebody hit an amazing 3-point shot on us. That
Must
was
have been Al. Yeah,
I think it was Al. I think it was
Al Sola. That just to this day just hurts me. And wasn't Glenn Capaccio on that team too?
Yes.
Glenn Capaccio hit a big one too. Yes, Glenn Capaccio hit a big shot, but those guys were so amazing when they had Jerry, Nelson, Alvin, JoJo.
JoJo was still there. Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to ask that. So
JoJo, you brought up Carlos Clark. I remember Carlos Clark very clearly. He used to take free throws like on the left or on the right side of the circle. You remember that?
Yeah.
Well, you ever figure out? You ever ask him, hey, why are you taking free throws on those sides? Never at the front, never at the center.
Yeah, Carlos Clark was the lefty. Remember?
Yes, he was.
He was such an amazing player, man. Like, didn't jump off the ground much. Just used his body the right way. He was a great role model for me because he was a true professional. He came to practice to work every day hard. When I got to Canada, there was a lot of guys. I played with Chip England and Carlos and Jim Thomas in Canada, in Calgary. And but there were certain guys in Canada that kind of took the league for granted. It was basically a chance for them to get paid extra money in the summer, and they didn't really take the league and play with a sense of purpose all the time. Carlos Clark was a professional. He came to practice every day in Canada. He went to games every day in Canada, and he treated the game like a professional, and he did his job. So I really admired him for who he was, and I wanted to model myself after him, kind of like Ray Hall was, and then next was Carlos Clark for me, how to be a professional.
There's a fellow on the Facebook Live feed. He commented this is from Carlo. He remembers that Bong Alvarez got injured in Game 2 of that series.
That's right.
That might be one of the reasons that you had a harder time.
Yeah,
Bong was
injured. Bong actually mentioned that.
We were up 2-0. We should have won it.
Right.
We should have won that. I mean,
sorry to bring that up, Sean. We had to talk about it. We couldn't go through this interview without that story.
Yeah, Sean.
But then after that, it's all success. After that,
just get the bad part out of the way. Another friend of yours is actually saying hi, Sean. I don't know if you know. I'll give the name. Claudia Perrine told me to say this to you. No ring. She said you get it.
I get it. Tell her.
You know who's listening too? A guy you played against. His name's Bernie Fabiosa.
Bernie, how are you?
Bernie's watching.
Bernie was part of that Pure Foods team.
Yes. I mean,
that was his last
really
hurrah.
No fair. Yeah, they had all the talent in the world. They were bound to be a dynasty, and of course the greatest coach of all times. Oh my God, it just made his legendary status jump off the roof. Right once he comes back on a down 2-0 and then win 3 games in a row. I mean, he was truly the maestro.
Yeah, you're talking about Baby D. Right?
Yeah, Baby Felipe. Yeah.
You actually got before we get into the Tim Cone era of Alaska, I think Sid has a few photos that he wants to show to you.
Yeah, we do this for all our guests. I'm gonna go back a blast from the past type, and just describe what you see, or if it's a photo of an opponent, can you just talk about that opponent for a while?
Whatever memories flash back when you see the photo.
Well,
sorry, we don't have the Philip Cesar hitting you in the back, though.
Yeah, well, this is the first one. Well, this is the first one. I don't know which
that's one of 6.
this is.
So.
Yeah, I believe that's in 1994 when I came back. And I didn't start off the 1994 season as the import. There was Sean Gay, because I had suffered an injury the year before, so management was kind of waiting to see how healthy I was before I came back. Mm-hmm. But that was the 94 championship, if I'm not mistaken. And just that was me, to me, saying that, I'm back and I'm here.
Yeah, that year the league was really balanced, right? I mean, I think San Miguel won, Pure Foods won. Yeah, it was
yeah, and we came back, and I think it was, I think not Pop, but it was a Pop Cola, Burham and they had a chance to win the Grand Slam, I think, that year.
Yes.
And
95.
That was 95. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
What you got next?
Okay. This is you against.
So
this is Wes
Matthews.
Yeah.
Matthews, and I just saw a post somebody put on a Facebook magazine that said who was better than Wes Matthews that year, and I was so happy to win the championship in '91 after we lost in 1990. Yeah, that was like the best feeling to come back after the way we lost it in '91 and come back. The way we lost it in '90 and come back and win in '91 against 3 things that happened to my legacy. We came back and won it. We won our first championship, and we won against Ginebra. So you couldn't ask for a better opponent for your legacy, better to beat Ginebra in your first championship.
And Wes Matthews was really a highly touted import. So, people were actually favoring Ginebra going into that series. Let's talk about it now, since the photo's on the screen anyway. What was the mindset of the team entering that, maybe as the underdog? How did you guys feel? How did you feel personally? Because you're going up against Wes Matthews.
Right. So for me, it was like Wes Matthews, for him, I believe, and I could be taking this completely out of pocket, and I hope he's not offended. He was taking a step down coming to play in the PBA when he was just in the NBA, right? So he took a step down to come here, and he obviously lost an NBA job. To me, this was my NBA. This is where I wanted to be. This is where I wanted to be successful. So I wanted to show him that this is my world, and I wanted to just outwork him and outplay him that series. And I know I did. I know I completely kind of outplayed him that whole series. And I felt great because I was like, this is my NBA West. I know you're here collecting a paycheck. You had a great season, but I kind of felt like it was a way for me to show him, like, this is where I want to be, though,
Right.
And it showed in that. It showed in that series. Yeah, it really did. And I remember Coach Jaworski, like, trying to shake him and get him going sometimes in that series.
How tough was the series going up against overall, and not just West, with the whole team?
Well, Chito Loizaga was one of the toughest defenders I've ever faced. He fouled me probably more than anybody I've ever played against. He probably hit me more than anybody I've ever played against. He hit me harder than Philip Cesar, but he was a good guy.
But he was a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Joey Loizaga, I used to be jealous of him because he had the cutest girlfriend in the Philippines. And
a lot of people will agree. A lot of people will agree with you.
So I didn't like Joey Loizaga because of that reason, because he had a cute girlfriend. That's a great quote right there. Yeah. Yeah, and then Dante Gonzaga was really good, and then Discreto. But we won that 3 straight, right? So that was awesome also as well. After we had a series the year before, we're up 2-0, and then we lost 3 in a row. We beat Ginebra 3 straight games in that series to win it.
Yeah, we also talked to Bong Alvarez about this series, and he takes credit for shutting down Wes Matthews.
Yeah.
He said Tim assigned him really to shadow Wes throughout the series. Can you talk about that matchup and how good Bong Alvarez was back then?
Bong Alvarez was probably, before his injury, the best athletic Filipino in the league. He was super athletic, incredible hands, incredible craft. He was a Samboy Lim, and I mean, him and Samboy Lim was he was neck and neck with Samboy Lim, the thing Samboy could do in the game. But Samboy was getting older, and Bong was brand new, and then we were able to have JoJo. So we had like a three-headed monster, myself, Alvarez, and Jolas in that series. And actually, Frankie Lim was really, really good back then, too. Frankie Lim was kind of the heart and soul. It was a good team to actually win your first championship with because we were some tough guys. Like Frankie was tough, JoJo was tough, Bong was tough, myself, and B-Boy Ravanas. We were some tough guys. So we were the right team to match up against Endeavor because we weren't going to be intimidated by the physicality that came with the game. Because Frankie was a tough guy, man. Frankie Lim. And if anybody gave me a hit or a tough swat, Frankie was to my defense. And so Bong Alvarez, going back to Bong, he just got to reap the benefits of all that because he was playing with a bunch of tough guys to support him. But he was such an amazing athlete. The way he could pick up the ball with one hand and just kind of hang in the air. It's unfortunate that he had that Achilles injury and a couple other things, with Bong that kind of derailed him being one of the greatest of all time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. What's
this
next
one?
Jamie Waller.
Jamie Waller.
So, and I don't know why I know this, and this is how athletes are. I know for a fact we won that game. Okay, and I know for a fact because the league in Canada, Jamie Waller was kind of like the superstar of the league in the NBL, whatever it was. He played for a team in Vegas. He was the man of the league, the biggest guy in the league, and I felt I never got a chance to kind of go at him because I was kind of a role player for the Canadian team because we had Chip England, we had Carlos Clark, we had all these guys that were playing ahead of me. But then when later in the league, I started getting more playing time, and my job was to shut down Jamie Waller. So when we got to the Philippines, again, I was like, okay, Jamie, you're on my home court. I may be an import, you're an import, but this is my court. And I remember that game, like him and Fred Cofield, they were superstars in that league in Canada. I remember when they got to the Philippines, I always knew, all right, you're in my world now. So it's on. So I know we won that game.
Fred Cofield, another blast from the past.
That's a name I haven't heard in decades.
Yeah, but Waller was a pretty good player, tough guy.
Yeah,
too.
Waller was
Here's
awesome.
the guy you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
The greatest player I'm going to say I've ever played with. I don't know, it speaks with Johnny. Johnny is the greatest of all times. JoJo is one of our best leaders and one of the most skilled guys ever. But Johnny Alvarento is the best player I've ever played with in my career ever. He is just hands down the most incredible guy ever. I was blown away with Johnny when he was in college. I used to go watch his college games when he was still playing. I was like, okay, practice over. We got to go to the game. Let's go. We got to head to the Quinnet Austin to go watch Johnny play.
I remember seeing you. Watching him with the UAP games because I was following the UAP very intently in 1992. I remember seeing you there, and I remember hearing you said, "Man, wow, this Barrientos guy is incredible." You said something like that. I overheard you.
Yeah, Johnny. I would go to every one of their games, and Johnny, if he wanted to, he could have played in the NBA if he would have took that chance to go. And, I think it was the Charlotte Hornets that were looking at him. He was that good. And with you guys, which is amazing. You guys see the games, and you saw what he did in some of the games, and the clutchness and the amazing, just never rattled, always into his own zone. What he did in practice was even better. You guys don't see practice, but what he did every day and every practice session, morning, noon, and night was even more phenomenal. And we just all shake our head like, this kid's incredible. And then he just got better. He got better, and then he got the jump shot. Then he shot threes, and then it just got ridiculous. So, my hat's off to Johnny, one of my all-time greatest heroes. He's my idol.
There's sort of an urban legend as well. We're going to talk about the other urban legend we talked about before, but there's sort of an urban legend that you had something to do with the drafting of Johnny Barrientos. That you spoke very highly of him, that the team listened to you.
I think Tim might not say this, but I probably got on my knees and said, Tim, hear me on this one. Trust me on this one. This guy is the best I've ever seen. And they knew, Mr. Uitensu and Tim, they knew I was going to watch his games all the time. Obviously, I was on TV. They were like, hey, you just had practice, you got a game tomorrow. I go, yeah, but I got to go see Johnny play, man, live, because it's incredible.
Wow.
So, and I would leave practice and take a shower there and head to the Astrodome, and I don't think I missed a game when I could on a Saturday. Never missed his game.
Wow.
He was that good.
But I think
he knew I was there. He knew I was there watching the game. He knew I was coming.
I think the other Alaska guy who was also very high on Johnny back then, I think, was Wacky Trillo, because he did commentary for the the UAP games back then.
Yeah.
And I could remember hearing him on the air gushing about Johnny A and how they were going to draft him when he declares, his partner Jimmy Javier kept on ribbing him about that. But I remember.
So if you remember
was
back
very,
then,
very high on Johnny.
Back then, to get a big back then was so important. Like, his teammate was really the one everybody thought we were going to go after, right?
Big Pablo.
Pablo, yeah.
Because
everybody thought we were going to Pablo because he was he was like a 6'6" shooter at the wing. But it was like, Johnny was just absolutely the greatest I've ever played against, hands down.
So we can say Wacky Trillo was guilty of tampering at the time.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's tampering nowadays, right? No, but I really want to ask Sean. Sean, you mentioned that you think Johnny could have played in the NBA, and that actually, the story came out. Charlotte Hornets might be interested with Joe Betancourt and all of that. How close was he to actually getting a tryout or flying over there? I mean, I'm sure you guys were talking about it back then.
Tim spoke a little bit when he was with you guys, and I think he was very close. I think for Johnny, though, he's such a family guy, and he took pride in really helping and supporting the rest of his family, his mom, his dad, and his sisters and them. They were always at the games. And, the more he became successful in our league and started to win championships, I think he felt such more of a need to stay here and be the star here and take care of his family. So I'm not sure how much he really fully entertained it, but I know there was an opportunity for him to go over there and get a tryout.
I actually spoke to Johnny about that a couple of weeks ago, and Johnny said that at first he really wasn't sure if this was real. I mean, the whole process, he wasn't sure if it was real. But then when he started considering it, the talk started falling apart. He sort of considered it late. That's what he was telling me a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. And still, it was in a situation now today, he probably even have more of a chance because of the skill level and the pick and roll that they're doing. But still, a small guard in the NBA back then was still kind of like, how does that work? But now what Trae Young is doing and these guys like that, at that size, he could have easily done that. Easily. He could have reinvented the game over there because he was unflappable. Johnny was just unflappable.
We were asking Tim Cone to name his 5 greatest players. All he said was Johnny Barrientos and all the rest.
I saw that, and I sent him a nasty text. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say,
I saw that.
He forgot about Sean Chambers.
Oh, come on. Your first 6 championship guy. Come on, dude. Yeah, no.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of first championship.
I saw that. He said he would give Johnny all the greatest players he played with, but he had to give Johnny the #1 seed. And I'm like, okay. I would agree with him on that one.
Okay.
Okay, here's the next one. Okay, talk about this guy.
Oh
wow. My best friend, the guy who went to my battle whenever things were not good, bad, or indifferent. The heart and soul of our team was unique. Johnny was the most gifted and skilled guy, but JoJo was truly the heart and soul of our team. He a high character. I don't know what to say. Like the first time I played against JoJo when he was playing against Pure Foods, I knew I wish one day he would be my teammate. Like, and that's rare, when you play against somebody as you're battling and fighting against each other. I knew the first time I played against JoJo, I knew I wished one day he would be our teammate. And when I heard we traded for JoJo, I actually thought it was a joke. I thought it was no way. It's impossible. There's no way. There's no way this guy's playing with Alaska.
Gave up Boy Cabajo for Jonas,
Boy
right?
Cabajo, who's also one of my good friends. Boy Cabajo was a great guy I got a chance to play with and love Boy. But JoJo is the heart and soul of Alaska. And I think our legacy and our dynasty at Alaska would never been there without JoJo, hands down. But he's one of the greatest of all time.
You watched
Sorry, Charlie, but I'm just saying, looking at this picture, that's the old Araneta Coliseum. Boy, it looks so different now.
Yes, it does. That's nice.
Big dome.
Sean, were you able to watch the episode with Jojo Lastimosa here on our show?
Because I did not see that one.
No, because Jojo talked about some relationship problems with Tim Cohn.
I did see that.
Yeah, he and Tim would get into some tussle, some arguments.
Yes.
What was the atmosphere like when you're like your heart and soul is actually tangling with your coach, who's the mastermind of all this. He's the main guy. How are the rest of you feeling when this is all going on?
So, take a chance to pat myself in the back right now, okay? If you guys don't mind. Okay. So, the thing that made us successful, and JoJo would have the things he would stand on, and he would get, he would dig his heel in the ground, like he believed this is the way something should happen, or he felt them didn't go right, and him and Tim would have clashes, no doubt about it. But I was the buffer, I was his best friend. He was JoJo's and I are like brothers. We were like brothers from day one. And then I was such an advocate for Coach Tim as well, right? So I was able to buffer the relationship and say, come on, Joe, we got to be in it for the team. We have to sacrifice. We have to do this. We have to do that. But we cannot, at any time, can we fight against each other and not win a championship. We're going to have to give a little both sides, whatever the disagreement is in order for us to be successful. So I was able to be, and I was always like the happy-go-lucky, jolly guy in practice. And it was again, like I said, when I started playing basketball, it was kind of like my endorphins. It would make me go. It made me excited. So when I would come to practice, I never had a unhappy practice. It was always like, this is the best place in the world. This is like my Disneyland, so my happy place. So I was able to kind of create that atmosphere with the guys and come on, Joe, hey, come on, man, we're going to have fun today, And eventually we would all work things out again. And, and even with Tim, I would say things about Tim, and Tim know I'd be joking, but the Filipinos guys would never say that because there's a level of respect in the Filipino culture. But I would always call Tim, he's that crazy guy. Don't worry about the crazy white guy. He's okay, And all the guys will laugh at it, and they're like, oh, my God, you just called him the crazy white guy. I said, yeah, don't worry about him. So, but Tim knew I was joking, and so it would make the guys relax a little bit more, and not be so stressful. And a lot of times when I got there in 94 and 95, we hadn't won a championship all year. So that third conference was always kind of a stressful situation for a lot of the teams who hadn't won a championship, because if you win one championship out of the year, that's considered success in the Philippines, to win 1 out of 3, right? Right. If you don't win 0, that's not good. So it's a failure. To win 2 out of 3 is incredible. To win 3 out of 3 is amazing. So so I was just such a good buffer for everybody. Like I saw Tim mention when with Bon Hawkins, Bon hated morning practice. Hated it. And so I was able to get Bong moving and getting him going. We would have practice at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was able to kind of get in Bong's head and let him know, hey, we only got 30 more minutes to go, or we only got an hour to go, and make it lively so we can get through the process. And so it kind of helped create such an advocate for both sides to make sure we were always on the same team. And where I came from, my high school coach was so big that we are never successful without being like a family-oriented team. We have to be pulling for each other. And so that was always my mindset wherever I wouldn't play, that these guys have to be my brothers, Tim and all of us. We all have to be on the same page like a family.
What about you, Sean? Did you and Tim ever, have some disagreements?
I will say later in my career, and it's not Tim's fault, it's more on me. I see I've stayed maybe a year or 2 longer than I probably should have. And that was love of management that kept bringing me back and, kept giving me a salary, which I'm forever grateful for, that, the Uitinsa family and Tim kept bringing me back. In 1999 and 2000 and 2001 was probably, I was probably way past my time to be still trying to play. Injuries were starting to mount up. And so I wasn't able to live up to what I was doing in 94, 95, 96, and 97. And so I actually '98 is everybody knows that weird year. When we had the Centennial Championships,
Yeah.
and we had a chance to win a third Grand Slam. We probably could have won that, but we all know we did it for the right reason.
Mm-hmm.
But '99, 2000, 2001 is when I was really kind of on my downward swing, but they kept bringing me back. So it was hard for me to live up to my own ego of how I was playing in 95, 96 to 4 years later. And then, Tim getting on me to kind of reinvent my game, and I'm like, let me dominate like I was doing before, but I was not the same dominated player that I was in 96. So those are the only time we've ever had clashes, but I always knew, I never go against management. I never go against like the guys that are considered my leaders, like Tim as a coach and Mr. Uitenso as the owner. I never question and try to go against them. And if I did, I would say it behind closed doors and not in their face, So.
Yeah, but winning cures everything, though, right?
Winning cures everything, yeah.
And speaking of the late '90s, the last picture is this is you against Ali Peak.
Wow, the man mountain.
Were you guys ever teammates? I'm not sure if
we were teammates for my
Alaska.
last year. Yeah, for my last year we were teammates. Man, that's crazy. I can't even tell you what pick that was. That had to be 1990. I don't know, because I had a little afro. I'm not even sure why I got such long hair there.
Yeah,
Ali played for 98.
Yeah, Ali played for Pop Cola in '98. So
yeah, he was
okay,
98.
so
we was '98. Yeah,
we won that championship in '98, right? No, we lost. Oh no, this was I can't remember '98.
Yeah, your last one was '97.
Yeah, '97, my last one. But Ali P comes in, and he was coming from St. Mary College, which is down the street from where I live. So I heard about Ali, and I heard Ali coming in, and he was such a dominant player, man, when he came into the league. But Pop Cola couldn't win anything at the time. But he was such an amazing guy to play. Then he was also another guy. Once we got a hold of him, I was like, that guy is going to be a great addition to Alaska organization. But that was. I think that one has to be though when I was playing with Monty Buckley, because my local guys were gone. All our stars were gone in '98.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they transferred to those.
They're all at the Centennial team, gone that year. Mm-hmm. So we were having a tough run trying to win a Grand Slam without JoJo Bong, Kenneth Duremdes, and Johnny and JoJo. Yeah,
Bong,
we had all five guys were gone.
Bong was injured.
And Bong tore his ACL. Yeah.
Yep.
That was the last.
That's a great picture.
That's the last photo. Sean, we're going to take you now to the Tim Cohn era. Obviously, when you started in Alaska, it was still under Coach Boggs, and then there was a transition, and then Tim actually told the story already of how he actually got the coaching job at Alaska. So how did you welcome Tim Cohn, and then who's this young dude trying to run this show? I mean, I'm sure that you have your apprehensions. Who is this guy, right?
So, yes and no. So,
okay,
because I come from, and I don't know if you know anything about American college systems and the structure. It's very similar to the Philippines. At the college level, there's so much structure. There's so much like report to practice 30 minutes before time. If you're late for practice, you're going to be in major trouble. Practice on a certain schedule. We go through drills on a clock that, we transition all the time. So it's so rigid. It's so, planned out for every one of your days in college is planned out. So now I get to Manila for Alaska. First practice I actually have, I think half the team is about 30 minutes late.
Okay.
Half the team is 30 minutes late to practice on my first practice. And then the first practice, Carl Lott was there still. So they had me practice against Carl Lott, which I thought was very crazy, right?
Awkward, yeah.
Awkward. And so we were fighting for jobs, and I was a little hungrier than he was. So I kind of dominated that practice.
He didn't play well at all, Carl Lott. I remember that.
Yeah, he didn't play well.
Really big disappointment for Alaska that time.
Yeah. So then after practice back then, like right after practice, I remember several of the guys, I won't mention names, were smoking cigarettes right afterwards. And I'm like,
Tim was telling that story too.
Yeah, Tim also told that story.
Yeah. And then one of my favorite stories, and I love this guy to death, but I used to love to do this he would do this to me all the time, to Tim. So Tim was actually kind of helping and kind of consulting at the time. He would come to practices and sit in and watch, but he wasn't coaching. He was coming to watch at the time. And we would be ready to do a drill, and everybody goes, where's Ricky? Where's Ricky? Where's Ricky Relosa? Where's Ricky? And Ricky will be hiding behind the backstop, like playing hide and go seek behind the backstop. He did this every day, and everybody would go, what is he doing? So Ricky would hide just to mess with us. So when Tim started getting there and started putting, okay, guys, we got to be at practice on time. We got to, and I think back then there was like girlfriends would come to practice. You know who used to come to our practice back then? Chris Aquino.
No way.
Chris Aquino used to come to all our practices with her bodyguards back
Really?
then.
Upon whose invitation? Would you know?
Upon whose invitation?
I think it was Bong Alvarez.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Okay.
I'm not mistaken. But she used to come to some of our practice. So, you know, here you have the president's daughter at our practice. So Tim started putting structure in practice. He started putting like, okay, we got to be on time. You know, we're going to go through some drills. We're going to go through. It just became more structured. And I believe that's what kind of separates Tim's today and his success. And you can just tell the structure and the quality of shots and some of the things that his team, because of the triangle offense, that you get certain plays and structure out of the game. So, and what we became successful was like the Philippines back in the day, if you didn't have a foul, it was considered you weren't playing good defense. Where some fouls are useless, right? And we're like putting guys on the foul line unnecessarily. So we started putting structure on, all right, we're going to be a little bit more structured and organized in practice and in games, and then play the law of averages. And so what he did was, though, at the beginning, when he first started, if you recall, like we were considered having the best defense in the league back in there, 90 and 91. But what we weren't doing, we weren't running up and down. We weren't letting the scores get up to 120s and 30s and 40s like they were in the past. We started controlling the tempo of the game. For me, it worked for me because that's how we played in college. Mm-hmm. And so then it worked for me when he came because we knew Bong, JoJo, and myself were going to shoot like 90% of the shots, you know, and everybody else kind of played off of it. So we became structured instead of it kind of was like a free-for-all before. Everybody, you know, who got the ball, old school basketball was like maybe Yo-Yo or Ricky would start backing their player up, or, you know, there would be a pick and roll. Everybody who felt like they had a shot, you can kind of clear the side away because there was no help defense. You can kind of wave guys away. And so it was kind of like there was no really structure into our offense or what we were doing as a team. We never knew what was going to happen. But mind you, in the early years, I was scoring a lot of points because it was like we were going up and down the court like crazy, you know. So when Tim came, I was all in, and I knew that he had a little bit more structure he was going to implement within the team. And then because of that, we became predictable to ourselves what we were going to do.
Yes, you mentioned about the smoking because, Tim also said this actually happened during a game. He saw at halftime. At halftime, he saw two of his players smoking at halftime.
Yeah.
So he was
hallway
at the Ultra. At the Ultra. So he had some characters on that team back in the day.
Great guys, but characters for sure. Great guys. Rick Murata was a great guy to play with early. You know, he was a good, talented guy.
Yeah, Rick. Yeah,
in 91, you guys finally won a championship for Alaska. That's primarily because of your offense and the two guys you mentioned. But eventually, in 1993, you get Johnny Abarrientos, and Tim Cone falls in love with the triangle offense. So what was that transition like for you guys? I know Jojo hated it because it took the ball out of his hands. But when you were coming in as an import, and Tim say, "All right, Sean, we're going to run the triangle offense." Triangle who?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Now, I wasn't familiar with it. I didn't know the ins and outs of the triangle. Now, as a coach here for girls basketball and club basketball, I coach here, I still use parts of the triangle offense. I still do. I kind of modified it a little bit, but the fact that I was growing up in the States and I started seeing the success of the Chicago Bulls with the triangle, I didn't understand it, but I knew they were having success with it. And then so when JoJo pushed back on it, and then I came over and I'm like, hey, once again, we got to be a team here. We got to be, in order for us to be successful, we got to buy into whatever the coach is telling us to do, And so if it doesn't work, then it falls on Tim's head, right? But we don't ever want to be players that don't follow what the instructions are from the coach. So once I bought in, I think everybody else bought in. And the only problem was in 93, I had that foot injury. So I had a stress fracture where I missed 5 games. I was out a month and a half. So I don't think Tim saw that coming. So that didn't help. So, but once we started put in the triangle offense, what it did was people started double teaming JoJo, Bong, myself, because they knew we were the bulk of the offense. So they started sending double team. When you put the triangle offense in, it eliminated the double team and it punished teams for playing good defense. Once you fully understood that and understand the concept of the triangle offense, if you try to play double teams or you try to play good defense, you try to play the right help side, there's always a counter to the triangle offense. So once we all understood that and we were all like a well-oiled machine, we couldn't be stopped.
Yeah, and of course, 93, it also helped that you got Johnny and Edward Wino on your team.
Right.
That's right.
So then, so Edward became our perfect, we call him the Luke Longley, the perfect 5-man, phenomenal passing and triangle offense, kind of our unsung hero. He's the guy who really kind of was the final piece to the puzzle. And then, Kevin Ramos was also really good. And Chris Bellato, one of my dearest friends, God rest his soul. And so we had the right bigs. Even Alex Arnetta was pretty good for a while there. We had the right bigs for what we needed, and we had the guards that were scoring. And I was kind of like that guy that can rotate from any of the 4 positions.
They always say that for the triangle to work, you don't really need a great point guard on your team. If you look at the Bulls, you look at the Lakers, So how was Johnny able to thrive in that system?
Bottom line, Johnny is the most, his court vision, his passing skills, and his understanding of needing when to score. Johnny could score at will, but he also knew, when I watched old video, Johnny knew how to get the ball out to guys on the right time at the right place. He kept guys involved. He kept JoJo involved. He kept myself involved. He found, Bong, even Edward. And then, when he would come off the pick and roll off the triangle, he knew how to pick people apart. But then also, when it was a time we need a big bucket, Johnny would get out of the way. I got it. So, and we all got it. We all got out of the way. So
no more triangle, just a straight line, right? Just a straight line.
Johnny's got it. Let him go. And incredible. I see some of the shots he makes and some of the shots he took and the crucial times of games are just absolutely amazing. But the triangle offense allowed him to orchestrate it. He was the general manager back there, pointing us in the right direction. But if you look at the high efficiency that we scored on fast breaks is what's really was impressive. When we got on the break and we got on the run, Johnny made the right pass every time.
You won championships in 94 and 95 as well. But then, of course, 96 was the apex of all of this for you guys. Can you talk us through that Grand Slam season, how it was in the locker room, how was the relationships among the players? Jojo Lastimosa, I just wrote an article about him the other day about his favorite season. He said it was 96.
Right.
He said that it was like when he talked to Tim about that season, it was the closest to cruise control as a coach for Tim, because you guys were you knew what to do. Everybody, was just in sync. So I don't know if you echo that and tell us about it.
Yeah. The toughest part was, like Tim said, with the series against Kenny Redfield. I had to come in on a last minute notice and take over for Derek Hamilton. And I was not quite ready to be here because I was supposed to be coming in about another 2 months, So I had 2 months to get in shape and I was just starting to really train and get back going. And so Tim calls me and say, I need to come and replace Derek. So I get over there. I'm not really in game shape, but we snuck 2 games out and we snuck another game that we got the automatic bid into the finals of the second conference of Commissioners Cup. And that was just such a dogfight to win that championship. And And one of the moments, and Tim probably doesn't remember this, or maybe he does. One of the moments in that game is when he kind of really made me. I was struggling because, like I was saying before, the player that would have the most success against me would be somebody that would be about 6'4", 6'5", athletic, that I really couldn't jump over, and they could not pull them away from the basket all the time. Well, Shell had Terry Daniel, Jolly Escobar, Benji Perez, and then Kenny Redfield that can all match up with me that series. So I was having a tough series to try to be successful and still try to get in shape, and try to still. And then they had a big import that I couldn't really dominate him, like I could the other imports that came in the third conference. So once we pulled that off and won that series, going into the third conference, it was like everybody didn't have a chance, no chance at all. But we lost our first 3 games in the third conference. But the beauty of our team back then was the next, like after we lost our first 3 games, I can remember today. I can remember the faces of Johnny, Bong, JoJo, Edward, myself, and the rest of the guys. Ruel, Gomez, like we're going to practice and we're like, all right, guys, let's go. Come on, right? We're not losing any more games. And I can remember our mindset going into that practice. Then I knew we were not going to lose another game. I knew everybody was like, okay, we just won the Commissioner's Cup. We had a bit of a letdown, the championship high. Then we had a draining, like, whoo, thank God we won that. Now it's third conference. I remember losing the first 3 games. We were in practice, and everybody was like, let's go. We're not losing anymore. And we won on 13-game run. And we were definitely in cruise control. And at that point, I was by far on the top of the game, of my game ever. I was doing a little bit of everything. I was hitting my mid-range jumpers. I was, nonstop motor. I never felt like I got tired. I never got tired playing. I felt like I could run all day. I remember it's so funny. I was watching a game where we were playing Santa Lucia, and I think I hit like my first 13, like 10 shots in a row. And I tell Johnny, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. Johnny goes, just calm down. And then he goes, calm down, stay calm. And I think I missed the next 5 shots in a row, right? And then,
he doused you, huh?
Doused me. I missed the next 5 shots in a row. And then the team, they actually made a run. But then we ended up coming back and beating them. But I was on fire. I was just couldn't miss. I was hitting jumpers and crossovers and everything. And but yeah, we were dominating. And I remember we go into because we had the 2 mini-series before the finals then. So we played Santa Lucia, I think it was, and we dominated them. That was amazing. Then we played Shell, and we just dominated Shell in 2 or 3 games in a row until we got to Ginebra, and then we won the first 3 games in the championship until they replaced Freddie Cofield and brought over I think Derek Rucker over from Derek Rucker from Australia, and then they won one. Then we won the next one again. That last game was all Johnny. He was just incredible that last game in the Grand Slam. But we were definitely hitting on all cylinders, and it was like it's amazing when you watch the video because Johnny was so good, Bong was so good, JoJo was incredible. Yeah. And then I was playing at the top of my game at the time. Jeffrey Carriazo off the bench. We were just really a loaded group of team at that time.
And at 98, you almost had another one. You were saying.
Yeah. If I could have redone it, I would have probably went a different direction on how I the management trusted me and who to bring over that year. And I brought over a friend and instead of we really probably should have looked out for what we really needed at that time, knowing how much we were missing. But still, it was a tough order. It was a tough order to try to win that without all those guys there and without having your coach there. So, but again, we would all do it over for the country again anytime.
Yeah, it was just to let everyone know what we're talking about. In 1998, Alaska won the first 2 conferences, but in the third conference, Coach Tim Cohn, Jojo Lastimosa, who else went there? Jeffrey Carriazo, Johnny Abarientos had to play for the Philippine team.
And Duremdes.
Duremdes as well,
Yeah.
So So that's why the lineup was really severely depleted in that third conference, and yet people thought you still could do it. Sean.
Yeah, we made it to the second round, but we couldn't get past that one without those guys. And going back, like we were in '96. I told Tim our '97 team was probably the most dominating team when we added Kenneth Jarimbas. It wasn't fair, you know, because then we had Rodney Santos coming off the bench. We were really dominating that year, really, and that year was actually kind of a difficult time for me to find my game when I came back because there really weren't a lot of balls to pass around, right? Because you had balls. So here I was used to scoring almost 30 points a game, so I had to really kind of take a step back and start falling to more of a role player as an import, which I was glad to do, but it took me a while to get there. '97 was a bit of a struggle for me until about midway into the conference. Then I started finding a good rhythm. Once we added Kenneth and Rodney Chantel was coming into his own, and the other guys were just having such incredible careers, you know. So
I can't remember if it was Jojo or Tim who said this, but whoever said it said that the '98 team was actually better than the '96 Grand Slam team. Jojo, yeah. He said the '98 team was actually pound for pound, man for man, better.
Yeah.
Than the '96 team.
Yeah. So you guys don't know, I have 6, but I actually have 7 championship rings.
Okay.
Okay. So in '98, I came over and played the first 3 games.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So and we absolutely destroyed everybody in those first 3 games, and I played until our import arrived.
Right.
And so
Double D.
Yep, Devin Davis. He was my recruit. I told Tim about Devin Davis. That's a great story. Tim, tell you about that story?
No.
I don't recall.
He's one of my favorite imports because he looks like a parakeet or something like that.
Yeah, he had the roster partner.
Yeah.
So I told Tim, I go, hey, I'm watching this NCAA basketball game at home, and there's a guy named Devin Davis playing for Miami of Ohio. He would be perfect for the PBA. I'm telling you. So Tim and I decide we're going to go to Idaho to go scout them play against the Idaho Stampede in the CBA. So we go there, and I don't know if we both were naive or we're both stupid. I don't know, or we're both crazy. I don't know which one it is. We decided, I go, hey, they're done with the game. Let's go talk to him and give him one of our cards. Well, there's protocols in the NBA and the CBA, like you got to be a registered agent in order to go approach the players, right? Or say something to the players. And I'm like, Tim, don't worry about it. Let's go. Come on. What are they going to do? Kick us out of the arena? And so we go over to the players where the players are coming out or they're done. They're hanging out. They're coming out of the locker room. We get Tim's card. We walk up to Devin Davis and say, hey, we're from the Philippines. We think you would be a great recruit over there. We want to give you our card so you can think about coming to play for us one day. Right after that, here comes the security guard kicking us out of the arena because we're not supposed to talk to the players.
But he got your card.
He got our card.
Yeah, the card. He kept the card.
Davis. We got Devin Davis because of that. But I think Tim was like, no, we can't do that. I'm going, come on, Tim. What are we going to do? Kick us out?
I'm pretty sure Devin Davis remembers your Moxie. Coming up. Who are these 2 guys?
Yeah.
I have their card. Right. Yeah. They must be really desperate.
Yeah.
So you were part of that championship team because you did play the first 3 games.
And you know how the
you got the import. So
and I got it. So and if you don't win those first 3 games in that series, and if you lose those first 3 games, it's hard to catch up. That's how the PBA works. If you lose those first 3 games, there's a chance they don't make it to the finals. There's a chance they don't make it out of the first round or the second round. If you're 0-3, you're pretty much the season can be almost over with because back then I think it was only 8 or 9 teams. So you would have been at the bottom, So the fact that we went 3-0, we were leading the pack, we're in first place. I told management that I think I deserve a ring for '98, and
and you got one.
And they gave me a championship ring for that season. Yes.
Sean,
so technically, I consider myself. Yes. Go ahead.
During '98, it was like you almost had the Grand Slam, but then the Centennial team happened, and then they all had to go to Bangkok. But then there was something happening between Jojo Lastimosa and Tim Cone over there. Were you aware of it that was happening, or did you become aware of it when they arrived? And then how did you fit into all of this? How did you help fix the situation, if ever?
Yeah, so we knew that. So was going over and kind of being considered like a role player, or like Tim considered to be like an honor to let JoJo be part of the team and kind of be like the 12th or third man and kind of help kind of teach the guys the triangle and be kind of a guy, just kind of like Larry Bird was for
the Dream Team.
The Dream Team, right? Larry Bird didn't play a lot on that team.
Right.
He was just kind of, because he was hurt, and he was kind of like just a kind of a spokesman guy. And I think Tim kind of visualized that would happen with JoJo, but he forgot about JoJo's pride. And JoJo's a prideful Filipino, and that he feels like he was still as good or as talented as anybody else that you could have put out there on that roster. And so it did definitely kick up a riff. And then as before they were about to leave, JoJo was like, "Why don't you just leave me with Sean and the other guys, and maybe we'll win a Grand Slam." And Tim thought JoJo was being ridiculous for that, and and so it was all bad. And so I know when they came back, it was not a very good culture or climate when they returned from that.
But it's just them?
And like I think Tim regrets, like, he wish he could have done it better, like back then, and JoJo's. There's one thing that I always work with JoJo, and I still talk to JoJo, like, some things, man, we have to let things go. We can't hold on to things and stay angry because other people are moved on about the life that you're mad about, and you're still mad about it. So it doesn't do you any good. So, and I think JoJo definitely has grown from that and moved forward and learned how to let things go. But I know it took him a long time. Definitely. He felt like he was, the thing about sports, we feel like a lot of athletes feel like once we did this for an organization, we did this for a coach, and we accomplished all these goals and we accomplished all these championships together, they feel like the athlete still feels like then the ownership or the coach owed them something. The thing about sports is that it's what have you done for me lately? It's constantly moving, which is a hard reality, and it's for me as a coach, me as a player, I learned this as I go along, but I want to honor you for the player that you were in, what you've done for the player, for the team and the organization, but ultimately the organization has to continue to move forward or we'll stay stagnant and we'll never, recover from it. So I think that's one thing JoJo felt like, hey, I've won like 9, 10 championships for this team. And if for you as a coach, you owes me the respect to, let me fail or let me succeed or whatever, but at least give me that. And when I retired, I know I was not playing well, and I know that management was ready to make a move, and I did not want to make that a difficult situation for them as well. I knew letting me go was going to be kind of hard for everybody. I'm about to bring tears to my eyes. But I did not want to have that over Tim or have that over Fred. I mean, a 13-year career in the Philippines and 6 championships or 7 championships I would do it all over again. And they didn't owe me to let me finish out that season in 2001, and the way that they allowed me to retire and the way they allowed me to have the ceremony in the halftime of a game, priceless.
Well, you deserved it. You earned it.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
What was that like? I always wanted to know what it was like because I believe that you are the first import. Is he the first import or only import, right, guys?
The only
to have
import
his
with the number
retired by an
Right.
organization. I mean, the kind of respect given to you by the Alaska organization is phenomenal. What was going through your mind when you first heard that there will be a ceremony, that you will have your jersey retired?
I'm trying not to have a Jerry Maguire moment over here right now.
That's fine. Just 4 of us. All 4 guys here.
I gotta maintain my toughness in the Philippines, but
man, you had to look back. You had to look back. Yeah,
the real men cry. It's all right.
So they're gonna do a ceremony at halftime. I had no idea what it was gonna be like, but they didn't tell me they're gonna retire my jersey. They just said they're gonna have a ceremony, like they're gonna have like a farewell at the game. So I go there. They have the jersey, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Tim is like, he ain't a crier, like you said, he's not a crier. But you can tell he's a little shook up. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? Fred is just class act personified. I didn't know that that there was a TV highlights going on by Vintage. So I recorded it, and I have it still today. But there was a highlight of my whole career that was played on TV during the halftime show. And then my good buddy Vince was on the microphone, saying statements about my career in the Philippines. And so I go out there, retire my jersey, they give me the microphone to speak. And I'm like, I don't know, you kind of one of those things where you're kind of like just in the moment and you just kind of like speak from the heart. And I just really share like, how it's been such a journey for me to first come over here as a guest to play in the IBA and be somebody that people really didn't know, to later to be a player, an import, to play for one of the teams, and later on to become part of the actual Filipino family. And the way people have accepted me across the country and across the PBA is that now I felt like I was truly one of their own. I wasn't an outsider anymore. I was basically a Pinoy at heart. And so I was like, marami salamat po, and mahal kita talaga. And so the big emotional part of that was, in my career, I played with, I cannot tell you, almost 200 guys maybe from 1989 to 2001. I probably played with almost 200 different guys, almost maybe, on our team in Alaska, and I went from the 1980s, the 90s to 2000. I played in 3 different, decades. So Frankie Lynn was there. Jojo, Bong, they were there. B-Boy Ravanas were there. Don Aldialdo was there. All my old teammates, my closest, dearest friends, they were there for that halftime ceremony. And so they all welcomed me when I was walking off the court. That was Mark Kawanko was the first guy that came in and hugged me, and it was like Verhel Meneses, like all those guys, the guys that I competed against were there, Alvin, and so it was just, I don't know, it's a tearjerker. So
it's okay.
What a way to cap such a great career. But I'd like to ask, did any other PBA team approach you in those 13 years and say, hey, Chan, can we get you when Alaska didn't get you for right away or something? Did anyone try to pry you away from the Alaska franchise?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I say this all the time. I am a loyalist at heart. Once Alaska got me, I was Alaska in and out, and I was going to make Alaska the best team organization that I can possibly make it. And I was going to represent this organization to the fullest of my ability and make sure that we were like as well known as any other team in the country. And I think we did that. At one point, I think we were one of the next team ever. We were the next most popular team in the country.
I'm looking over at the Facebook page right now. There's somebody here, Lawrence Andrew Fernandez, or Lance Fernandez, is asking, what's your favorite Filipino food? Just to break the chain.
I can't say my favorite. There's plenty. Of course, I do pancit. I do adobo. I still today go to Jollibee's here. I go to Chow King here in Sacramento. I go get my tocino and my beef tapa. Still today. Yeah. So
when you were in the Philippines, when you were in the Philippines, where did you like to hang out besides Stargazer, of course?
Yeah, well, I actually lived at Prince Plaza right in Greenbelt, so I was able to go out and get my walk around and get a little bit of outside time when I was needed to go walk around and go to the movies in the Greenbelt Mall area. That was my kind of get outside the house area. And then I actually spent a lot of time at the New World Hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, those are my friends there. They've been knowing me for my whole life. They see me grow up at the New World Hotel. The people are still the same that were at the front desk there. Coach Louis Alas.
Yeah, Coach Louis Alas's wife.
Yeah.
She works there. Yes.
She's been
So
there
she
for
takes care of
forever.
Forever. So when I come back, I stay at the New York Hotel every year. That's where I stay.
All right.
Well, you did mention Greenbelt, and it brought back some memories about
Yes.
that thing we were talking about on Facebook. So, just for those of you who don't know the story, somebody actually tried to snatch Sean Chambers' clutch bag, and Sean Chambers, being supposed to be a U.S. Olympian athletics member, just ran after the guy and was able to retrieve it. So I thought it was an urban legend, but it actually happened, right, Sean?
So what happened was, I remember there used to be a place called Coney Islands. I remember you guys remember that. It used to be a hot dog place in the Philippines. Well, there was one in Greenbelt, so I went there to go have lunch, and I had a little clutch bag, and I did have some money in there, my ID and stuff like that in the bag. I set it down the table, and then another guy sat in front of me, and I was like, okay, this is weird. And I thought the guy was a basketball fan. He was going to ask me for my autograph, and he does not ask me for my autograph. He ended up leaving, and I watch him leave this way. I go bite down my sandwich, and another guy grabs my bag this way. And I jump up and go, hey, what are you doing? And he takes off running, and I'm going, do I eat my hot dog or do I go chase the guy?
Can't believe that was the choice.
Yeah. So here we go, running all the way through Greenbelt Mall and upstairs and around, and I'm chasing.
That's a long chase.
And this is like, I think this is like 90, maybe 94, 93. I was pretty popular now. I was well known. So I'm running through Greenbelt Mall. So everybody in the mall is going, whoa, that's Sean Chambers. What is he doing running in the mall, right? So they're watching me run and they're watching me run. And then we go upstairs up by the theaters. And I finally grab the guy. Now, you cannot make this up. This is beautiful. I grab the guy. Standing right next to me when I grab the guy is Mr. Wilfred Uitentu's secretary.
Are you serious? Just by chance?
By chance, because she, our office, Corinthia Plaza, is across the street from.
Yeah. It is. Yes.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mention this was like 12:30 in the afternoon, lunchtime. So it's packed. So people are all in the mall, right? So I catch the guy. She goes, Sean. She's freaked out. She's panicked. She goes, what is going on? I go, this guy tried to take my bag, right? And so I got the bag. She goes, what? And standing next to her was one of Mr. Uitentu, I believe, bodyguards. They arrested the guy.
Okay,
wow.
Great.
They arrested the guy. And so the guy was from Quiapo. And the crazy part was they put the newspaper, Sean Chambers dunks snatcher, but they put my address, they put his name in the paper, and it was a big story from that. Yeah. And what it was, matter of fact, I know what it was. It could have been actually, I think it was 91, actually. It was 91 because it was right before the championship series.
Okay.
So all the Alaska wives were nervous because they knew my name was in the paper. They were worried that I might not be focused on the championship. I'm like, never mind. I got the book back. I got my bag back. It's okay now. Yeah.
But you lost your hot dog.
I lost my hot dog though. Yeah.
Yeah, you lost your hot dog that day. I'm sure you got to eat a lot more hot dogs after that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, even a crazier story was for our 94-95 championship, I had a fan who wrote a book about me, an actual book. She wrote a book and had it bounded and everything about meeting me, falling in love with me, then falling out of love with me, and then I married somebody else and had a family. And at the end of the book, she kills me.
Wow. Wow.
So, yes.
Is she still around?
I still have the book. It's in my. I have the book
That
in my.
sounds like a Stephen King novel, right?
That might call for a restraining order or something.
Yeah.
So because of that book, I was like, this is funny and kind of crazy. I remember showing it to Bong's wife, JoJo's wife, and all the players' wife. They demanded for Mr. Uitentu to get me a bodyguard because they thought my life was in danger right before the playoffs. And I was like, no, I'm not going to have a bodyguard. Not happening. But they really thought my life was in danger because the girl killed me in the book. And she delivered the book to my condo.
Uh-oh. So she knows where you live.
She knew where I live. I don't know how.
No, but that Sean, that story is the perfect segue to what I'm going to ask you now. you were here, as an import for 13 seasons, as you said. A long period. You were in the Philippines. You practically lived here sometimes for months in a row. Did any Filipina catch your attention, steal your heart, like some of the other imports who were here for like one conference and they have a girlfriend already? Like guy, we can name names. We can even name the girls. How about you, Sean? Was there anyone who?
Champray, talaga.
Champray.
There were several Filipinos that I met and dated during my time there. But back then, the difficulty was there was no cell phone, no internet, there was no social media or a way to stay in contact without spending a lot of money when I went back to the States. So I've always kind of lost contact, and then things kind of happened in between then and there. And but sure, there were a few that I thought that I may be Mrs. Chambers in the Philippines, but because of that space in between when I left and came back, things always kind of transition different directions. I guess that's the best way I can say it.
Right. No, because obviously you were here such a long time, so it makes people wonder. Obviously, you'll develop relationships while you're over here.
Yeah, and it was funny because it was one of the girls that I dated when I first came over. We met there, we dated, and then I was at home, and then when I went home, she moved to the States when I went back to the Philippines. So we were like went different directions again. But and again, right, there's no Skyping back then, there's no internet, there's no phones. I mean, we moved in such a rapid speed now in this world, unlike we did back then. And it was like really sitting down and write a letter back then, and pencil and paper was what you had to do.
Well, do you still have an official capacity with the Alaska team to this day?
So I still serve as a consultant for the organization. Mr. Uitensu does a great job of keeping me close and keeping our legacy alive by keeping some of the older guys involved with the organization. He entrusted me and Coach Jeff Cardiaso and the rest of and Dickie Backman. They entrusted me a lot to help find our imports. So we can find the next Devin Davis or Sean Chambers. I was responsible for I can't think of what's his Campbell, the guy we had last year that ended up leaving in the middle of the year. So I brought him over. And so if we do resume to get back to basketball, they're going to entrust it with me to help find what imports, because they know I know what a successful import looks like, is how they're gonna play in the Philippines. How the guy's personality is, his work ethic, and his skill level, what works in the Philippines, and what we need for our team.
Yeah, Sean, Tim Cohen, of course, is now with Ginebra, and he also has another resident import right now in Justin Brownlee. I know you've met him.
Yes.
Do you see any similarities between you and Justin with regard to being?
Your journey's similar, though. Your journey's similar.
Yeah, you were both replacement imports, and you both won championships with Tim Cohen. And how is he?
Okay, Justin is phenomenal. He is really an incredible player. I don't see myself compared to his skill level. When I go back and watch some of the games in my prime, I do see where there's some way where I was kind of dominating games, but it was just on a different way because I was closer to the basket. But Justin can shoot threes, he can get to the rim, and he kind of just allows the game to come to him in a right way. I think I dominated because I had such great teammates around me that we did it as a complete unit. Great guy, got a chance to meet him a couple of times, and he is such a perfect fit for the Philippines and so right now, I remember when I was starting to kind of dominate the league in 94, 95, and 96, and Bobby Park said this to me. We were talking about, the players and the imports, and I met Bobby Parks in number and Black out. We went out to go eat dinner one time, and they were saying everybody's trying to now find an import to match up to me, right? It was everybody's trying to find a player that can match up to you now. It ain't me anymore, Bobby said. It's you now. You're the level where everybody has to get to in finding the right import. So now all of us, everybody in the league is trying to find who can we get to compete against Brownlee, Justin, everybody. I mean, ourselves, Alaska, because that's where he has set the bar at such a high level with his skill level and his work ethic, and just being such a great guy. You can just tell the guy's a great guy and he plays the game the right way. So Tim, I don't know how Tim does it. He always just finds these right guys that fit the culture and fit the talent of what he needs for his team. And Justin is perfect for Ginebra. And so everybody across the league, from in-legs to talking tags to Alaska, we're all trying to find somebody like just when we're recruiting imports, we're all thinking of Justin Brownlee, which is a problem, because we need to probably think outside the box, because we're not going to find a Justin Brownlee. We're not going to find a guy like that. He's very unique in what he does, and that's how you kind of get yourself in the pickle, because you're trying to find somebody like him or somebody who can compete against him. And so, and I think that's what it was like for in my era. If you're trying to find somebody to play exactly like me around the basket, the energy, the effort, and what I brought to the table, you weren't going to find another guy at 6'1", 6'2" that did what I did. It's just right. If you find a guy that's 6'2", 6 at my height, they were playing guard basketball. They were playing straight guard position, and so therefore you were in a tough situation to try to find somebody that was going to match up to me.
You mentioned that you had dinner with Bobby Parks and Norman Black. I mean, imagining the three of you together, that's like the entire history of the PBA right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to be honest with you, but you did win another award besides the fact that your jersey was retired. That was Mr. 100%. It was only given to one other player before you. So in the history of the PBA, only you and Norman Black have been given this award. Tell us about the receiving the 100% award and what it was like, what it meant to you.
Yeah, so when I came over in '91, and we knew, I can't remember my numbers, but I had a pretty heck of a year in '91. I know I was pretty good, and I knew I was so bent on trying to win a championship after the way we lost in '90, and and then to beat Wes Matthew was like the crowd darling, and I think he won the best import that year.
Yes.
But I think I had a better season than he did. But I remember, and I just knew the championship was so much more to me than the best import award. And so when we had a ceremony that day, it was like a ceremony like at a theater, the end of the year awards for the PBA. And when I was given this award, I knew instantly this was going to be way bigger than any best import award, because there's a best import on 2 different conferences all year long. But to be nominated the Mr. 100% award by the commissioner at the time, it was like, I knew that was something special that was going to be part of my legacy for the rest of my life. I knew that. And like you say, having dinner with Bobby and Norman Black that day, I kind of felt it was like the 3 generations, like you said, was passing the torch. It went from Norman to Bobby, from Bobby to me, you know. And you're right, it was 3 different generations of dominance, of us dominating the league and being good guys and doing it the right way.
Right.
And so I knew that was the crowd. Like I was always wanted to be part of mentioned. I wanted to be mentioned part of Norman. I wanted to be mentioned part of Bobby, and then include myself in that conversation.
Well, you are right now, and then you deserve that too. But now my next question is, Justin Brownlee, does he get the 100% award next?
I think the commissioner should bring that back. I think it's something that it should be considered if he's not ever in a situation where he was probably awarded the best import award. And I think because they won the championship last year and he didn't get the best import.
No, he didn't.
No.
He didn't.
Right.
He's gotten it once. He's gotten it once in the.
It's like Sean Chambers only won it
Commissioner's Cup. He's won it once in the Commissioner's Cup.
Yeah, I should have got it in '94 and I should have got it in '95. I'm just saying. Yeah, because I think
a great case for those.
Yeah, because '95 was we gave it to the big guy. He was like, I think Pepsi had a 6'5" or 6'4". They had a quotient to have a big import that year, and he got the best import, and he shouldn't have. It should have won because it was like a 6'3" conference, and they had a 6'6" import. But anyways, I digress. But yeah, I do. I would definitely advocate for Brownlee if he was ever in a situation again where they make a strong run to the season and he did not get the best import award. He should be awarded the 100% award because he plays that way all the time.
Yeah, but you guys are all icons in PBA
Yeah.
history. There's one of the guys on the Facebook feed, Michael Villar, one of our guys at the network. He says that the term your name has become a term in Philippine basketball. When you make a shot, they say chambers. Chambers
Yes.
meaning chamba. Chamba.
Chamba.
Yeah,
Is
lucky
it
shot,
chamba
right?
or chamber?
They say
Yeah.
chambers, but that's because of you. So they got that from
Yeah.
your name. But your career was not chamba at all. It was all hard work.
Voila.
And you put in the dedication and all of that. And that's something we all appreciate. What does Sean Chambers do today? I'm sure all the fans want to know what are you up to?
Man, I'm like a little bit of everything. Like we mentioned about being like in a consultant with Alaska and looking for players and working with Alaska's coaching staff. Like I said, I was there in November and I had a really good chance of running the practice and team workouts for a week. Jeff gave me the whole team. He said, it's yours, do what you want to do. And it was pretty cool because I coach women's basketball, high school basketball here for the girls side. And a lot of my girls go to major university. One of my kids just committed to University of Stanford, Stanford University, one of the top programs in the country. And so it was really cool to see like some of the things that I implemented here on the female level, how it translated over to professional men in the PBA. It was absolutely phenomenal to see how it progressed and how it translated over. It's just faster, bigger, and stronger. But the attention to details and attention to the fine line that we look for our players, it worked. It was beautiful over there. So I do that, and then I don't know if you guys know, but I'm an assistant principal / dean of students at a middle school. So I do discipline for 7th and 8th graders here in Sacramento. We got about 800 students. I actually employ 4 teachers from the Philippines. They're here on they're here on teachers' contracts, working in our district. My custodian, he's from Laguna. Yeah, he's from the Philippines, and I have like about 12 students who are from the Philippines on my campus. Wow. So I'm constantly got the Filipino culture around me and reminded daily. And then I'm a father of 2 wonderful kids, and and I have my club program. It's called Just Believe Sports, and it's I have about 120 kids in my club program.
You're just listening to what you're saying, what you're doing right now. It sort of reminds me of the career path after basketball of a certain Ricardo Brown.
Yeah, I was about to mention.
Yeah, who you cross paths with. I mean, started out as a player, but now he's involved with students. So
he's a principal, actually.
He's a principal at a middle school as well in Orange County. So I chat with Ricardo Brown quite often, and we talk about middle school stuff, and we share stories. He's doing a wonderful job out there at his school, and especially when I first started as an administrator, it was some things that I had to shift over from my basketball mind, because my basketball mind is what I wanted to win at everything. As an administrator, I had to learn how to work things out. Let's work it together. We're in the betterment for all the students, and we're here for student outcome. And, you may come with an argument. I don't have to win my argument. Let's try to work it together. So, but my mentality as a basketball player and my desire to win definitely translate into wanting to run the best school possible. So work ethic is work ethic. Whether you want to be a great basketball player with your work ethic or be a great administrator, you come to work on time, you have structure, you put things in place, and you follow a game plan. It's just like a basketball. So you do that as an administrator too. Yeah.
So I have one last question before I leave it with these gentlemen for you, Sean. And I remember I was kidding Norman Black about this when we were interviewing him. They gave the 100% award to 2 marginal free throw shooters. And I remember when I was new in the PBA in '97, I actually had a chat with you in '97, and I asked you about your free throw percentage, and your explanation to me was, well, I'm not moving when I'm taking free throws.
I remember that. I remember you asking me this.
I'm not moving, so it's harder to shoot free throws standing still. So did you finally get over that hump when you're teaching your girls now how to shoot free throws?
So it's craziest thing ever. I did not shoot hardly any 3-point shots.
Yeah.
In the PBA.
Yeah.
I am a phenomenal 3-point shooter coach.
Wow.
Because all the things that I did not get instructed to me to work on the technique and fundamentals and follow through and shooting and my elbow, all that stuff, I studied it, I mastered it, now I teach it. My girls program is the best 3-point shooting team in probably close to the nation. We're phenomenal 3-point shooters because that's what we focus on, because those are the things that I was handicapped at is what I teach well, right? And so that goes to free throw. So I remember you asked me this, and I remember this back in 97. When my story was, I'm always on the go, and my motor's always going in the middle of the game. Then all of a sudden I got to stop, slow down, focus, and shoot a free throw. And it just wasn't part of my natural rhythm.
I remember giving you advice. In fact, why don't you take a jump shot at the free throw line? I think I even said that to you, right? Of course, you never did it.
And then I said, I'm going to look Sitter Ulu Telaga when I'm in the air at the free throw line.
Yeah.
So, but in 96 and 97, I did become a pretty good free throw shooter because
you did.
Tim Cohn, like I said, Ruel Gomez is one of the guys I owe a lot to, because he's one of the best shooters of all time. And I stayed with him one summer and stayed and shot at Reyes Gym and didn't go home. I stayed in the Philippines for like 2-3 months. Extra, just to work on my game to get ready for the next conference. And see, that was the thing I would do. When I left, I came in like in August and stayed till December. We won those championships always at Christmas time. My whole preparation from January to August was to get ready for the next third conference. My whole mindset was always, I got to be the best I can be for the next third conference. That's how I left the country. I celebrate for like January, and then it was like back to business. I got 5 months to get ready.
Wow.
Amazing. So, Sid has a couple of questions for you, but right before he asks you those questions, I just need to tell you that there's an Alaska fan, and he's probably the #1 Alaska fan in the nation, because whenever there's an Alaska player related to your team, he comments, and he's really anticipating you guys to be guests on our show. His name is Napoleon Federer. Okay. Like Roger Federer, Napoleon Federer.
Yeah.
And he's been putting all sorts of trivia about the team on the feed and all of that. And I'm sure he'd love a shout out from you, Sean. Napoleon Federer.
Napoleon Federer, thank you so much for supporting Alaska Ace Kids. Wala Palitalo sa Alaska. Marami salamat po. Thank you for all your support, and really, we couldn't be anything without our fans and our fan support. So we are very grateful to all the people out there who support our team. Marami salamat po.
And this guy knows everything, as in everything about Alaska.
Oh yeah,
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, Sid,
what do I
take
see?
it away.
I just saw what was Boyet said. I just saw Boyet.
Yeah, Boyet
season.
Boyet season.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says hi, and he says
Hey,
he lives
Boyet,
he lives right behind Reyes Gym.
Yeah,
That's true.
my God.
That's actually true.
I love Boyet. Boyet's always been a very good supporter of mine, and he's been so dear to me. Thank you, Boyet.
Oh, Sid, it's yours.
All right, go ahead, Sid.
Yeah. Well, okay, Sean, I usually ask our guests for their top 5 favorite teammates, but since you've played for Alaska your entire PBA career, we can pretty much guess what you're gonna what your answer is gonna be. So I'm gonna ask you something different. I'm gonna ask you something different. Who were the top 5 PBA players you wish you could have played with?
Alvin Patrimonio. I wish I would have played with Berhel Meneses. I'm gonna say I wish I played with Marlu Aquino.
Marlu Aquino.
Yeah. I'm gonna probably say Nelson Isaitono was phenomenal, and I'm gonna finish up with I'm gonna take Nelson. I'm sorry, Nelson. I'm gonna go with Benji and Ronnie Masonic. Okay. I love those two, man.
Nelson's your 6th man.
Yeah. Nelson's my 6th man. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, Alan Kaidik. You were close. Sorry, buddy.
Who was the guy you had a hard time going up against, be it a local or an import?
Easy.
Who guarded you well?
Like none of the locals gave me problems when I was in my prime. As I got older, the locals were tough. I mean, the imports got tougher. I had a hard time with Derek Brown when I was older, but he came, when I was not in my prime with Derek Brown. Lamont Struthers started getting the best of me after 98. Like in 99 and 2000, Lamont was starting to take off on me and I couldn't keep up with Lamont. But local wise, it was by far Jerry. I had the hardest time with him because he was so smart. Other guys I had a tough time with Zaldi Ray a little bit, but Zal and who am I thinking from Dignadice, Yves Dignadice was also pretty good too because of his length. But I was a little bit more physical than Yves when I got close to the basket. But Jerry was big. I couldn't get physical with him. I had to really try to be quick with him and to get my shot off faster. So yeah, I did not like Terry Saldana. I thought I didn't like playing against him.
There's a post. He's in the poster with you. You just gave him an elbow on the poster.
I did not like playing Terry Saldana at all. I could not stand playing against Terry. He was such a bruiser.
Okay.
Toughest imports.
Toughest import.
So, like I said, when I got older, Derek Brown. But before then, like from 94, 95, 96, I felt like I could compete with any of the imports out there. And I felt like there was a thing about, like I said, it was more they were coming to my home court now. Like I had the advantage of the way the PBA game was, the way the style of the game was. Kenny Travis was dynamite. He's a good friend of mine. He was really good. But Kenny's handicap was Kenny loses his cool a little bit. You know, he got a little upset. So so Kenny couldn't control that. So so as I got older, the guys that were really good was Derek Brown and Lamont Struthers. But I played against some good imports. Derek Schaus was really good.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of guys.
Derek Queenan was really good.
Queenan was good.
And I'll give Tony Harris a lots of props. Tony Harris was just like the Hurricane. He came in and he blew out really fast. Right? But he was such a phenom when he came in. When I remember scrimmaging Tony Harris, we had a scrimmage somewhere and he was so good it was like too good to be true. Like in the scrimmage, I'm like, this guy can't be this good. We scrimmaged him at Reyes Gym, and it was like Tim and I were both like, whoa, this is kind of scary. But he came in so fast and so dominating, and he blew out so fast, and he didn't. If he would have maintained a personality like Lamont Struthers or Derek Brown, we'd be talking to Tony Harris as the greatest of all time. But we talked to Tony Harris. It was a 2 years of amazing, and then it was the way he went out was also really bad. He didn't go out.
He came back in 98. He came back in 98, but he wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Nowhere the same.
Yeah.
Nowhere the same. Yeah. Nowhere the same. And that's what I mean. But it was, I don't know if it was a matter of the way he came in and everything was so big. And did he win a championship? I'm not sure.
He did.
92. His first.
They won one?
Yeah. Oh, his first conference.
Okay, yeah.
They swept Del Demps. They swept Del Demps.
Yeah,
like you said, he came in and he really took the league by storm. Championship right away, scoring 100, like 70s, 80s all the time. And then he was gone. I mean, Okay, then just before we wrap this one up, because we've been going on. He's
pretty cool.
They use his name for the best import award now, Bobby Parks. Can you tell us, what you think, your thoughts about Bobby Parks?
You went up against him a lot.
Yeah, I played against Bobby so much, and it's kind of there's two parts in my career in the Philippines when I started to realize we were really good, we were going to be dominating, and we were on the top of our game in the league. Once we started beating San Miguel was the first one. We could not beat San Miguel ever in my career. From 98, 90, 91 is when we first had our first career win. My first career win against San Miguel, I think it was in 91 when we finally won the championship. So then that happened. And then in 94, when I came back after my injury, I started winning games against Bobby Parks. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually beating the greatest player in the Philippines, because when I came in 98, 90, all the way through 1994, Bobby Parks was just the most dominating player at all aspects of the game. He was rebounding, he was shooting, he was defending, he was passing, and the whole time he was like this. completely
Stoic.
emotionless, stoic, goes about his business, go home, come back and do the same day, just completely stoic, never got rattled. You know, guys will try to foul and get him out of his game. He never showed ever any time that he would lose his composure. He was just the most gifted, dominating guy I've ever seen play. And then in 95 and 96 and 97, we were both playing like in the offseason in Indonesia. So I played for a team in Indonesia. We were both in Jakarta right before I would come back in August. And he was still the same guy. He was just, it was all business, go out, have fun afterwards, all business. And so when I would come back home to the Philippines, as soon as I land off the plane, Bobby would be the first guy I call. And then we would go eat dinner like 3-4 times a week, you know. And then, like I said, he started telling me when I started shifting my mindset, when Bobby started saying, well, you are now the caliber everybody's trying to recruit against now, where they're trying to find guys to compete against you. You are now the bar. He said, you're the bar. He goes, you're the bar for all the imports. I go, get out of here, Bobby. No, I'm not. You're still the man. He goes, no, you're the man now. You are the man, and everybody's trying to compete against you now. Everybody's trying to find somebody to stop Sean Chambers. And I was like, wow, that was really? Yeah. And so then I knew, I was like, okay, I'm probably on the top of my game right now. I better enjoy it while I can.
I'm sure that tickled you when he said that. When that's the late great Bobby Parks, we miss him, but his son is there now to try to, you know, achieve some stuff like his dad did. Yeah, continue that legacy.
Did you say anything to Bobby Ray? Ray.
So you know, when Ray was in the D League, I got a chance to go to Vegas for Alaska, and I got a chance to go meet him and talk to him. I don't know if you got a chance for this story. This is a crazy story. So with my girls basketball club team, we went to Memphis about 10, 15 years ago. We're in Memphis, and I get on and again, before cell phones really get going, I get off the plane, we're on a shuttle bus, we're about to go rent a car, and I tell the shuttle bus guy, I go, hey, I got a buddy out here. I don't know how to get a hold of him, but maybe you might know him. His name is Bobby Parks. The bus driver says, absolutely, I know Bobby Parks. His son is our star basketball player at the middle school, and I can get a hold of Bobby for you. Bobby, in about 4 hours later, was at my hotel. Pick me up.
Wow.
I just ran with and so I go watch Ray. Ray was about 13 years old. He was playing in a little open gym pickup, and I was watching him play. And Bobby was at that time trying to decide between him and his wife, should he stay here in the States or should they go back to the Philippines? Should they stay in the States? And we went, we were together I was there for a week in Memphis for this basketball tournament. We were together for about 5 days of that, 7 days we were there. And I said, Bobby, go back to the Philippines, man. Take him back to the Philippines. And 2 years later, they came back to the Philippines. Yeah.
And now he's trying to make a name for himself.
Now he's making a name for himself. So that's my connection with Ray and Bobby when he was a baby. Yeah, younger guy.
Wow. That's great. Well, Sean, this is your time. Say whatever greetings or shout outs to anybody you want to hear.
This has been a great interview.
We'll be watching this. Yeah.
Man,
one of the best interviews.
That could take another hour, though.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, my journey to the Philippines, like, it's like dreams come true. My whole journey. When I first started, I was there in '89 when we had the little coup attempt, and so, and I remember telling my mother that was a joke. It's not really happening, So, and the love that I continue to get from the Philippines today, not only there in the Philippines, but here at home in the States, it touches my heart. It touches my kids' heart, my family. Everybody's just blown away that I'm just still considered such an icon there in the country, and somebody that people look up to. And I don't understand why God has put me in this place, but I'm grateful, forever grateful, and I'm forever humbled by this experience. I have the best friends in the world. I was just texting this morning with Johnny A and JoJo and Bong and everybody, because it's happy birthday to Gus Vargas. It's our team trainer. It's his birthday yesterday. Yeah. So we were all wishing him a happy birthday. But I don't know what other import is still connected to the team like this with the Uitinsu family. And I'm like a consultant and a paid consultant for the team, which is awesome. to have the relationship with my former teammate. I always call him the rookie because he was my rookie coach, Jeff Cariaso. When he came in, he was our rookie. I'm always lost for words because the words cannot express my deepest love and respect that I have for the country and for the people there in the country. One of my favorite stories also is when I got a chance to meet President Aquino. We were eating at a little Italian restaurant in Greenbelt, and when I was leaving, she waved me over to come over, and of course we know she has about 15 bodyguards with her back in the day then, and I'm like, you want me? And I'm like, she goes, yes, come here. And at the time, Mr. Fredo Uitensa was also in the restaurant having lunch, and I go over, she just says she wanted to shake my hand because she goes that I was her all-time favorite import because I always played the game the right way and I always show respect for the Filipino people. And she wanted to thank me for being the player that I was. So then I walk out, Mr. Uitensa's going, what is going on? And I just tell him, when we sign our next contract, that's going to cost you. So
that's great.
Also, her daughter used to watch your practices, so I guess.
And Chris used to come to our practice. So, but that's my life in a nutshell in the Philippines. I'm forever grateful, man. Forever grateful.
And the Filipino fans are grateful to you as well. They're grateful to you as well for the kind of game that you brought and that you showed. And all those, by example, you showed people how to play this game. So we appreciate you for that, Sean. And we appreciate you, Noel, Sid, and I appreciate you for coming on our show.
Salamat. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, maraming salamat to you, Sean.
Salamat talaga, Sean.
And then Noel always says this, it's called an eternity of basketball, but we do have to end at a certain point. So, so now we're going to do that right now. So that's episode 26 of An Eternity of Basketball. What a great episode this was with our kababayan. He's our kababayan. That's Sean Chambers.
Pinoy yan. Pinoy din yan.
Pusong Pinoy from the Alaska Aces, the resident import, Mr. 100%. And on behalf of Sean, of course, Sid Ventura, Noel Zarate, ang aking mga kasama dito sa Eternity of Basketball. Ako po si Charlie Cuna. Nagpapaalam na sa Biyernes po. We have our next episode, 6 p.m., no? Noel, tama ba?
Yeah.
At 6 p.m., right?
No, is it 6 p.m.? Yeah.
6 p.m., yeah. I think we're going to have someone from the Toyota franchise. So we'll announce it on the Facebook page. Yes. Please stay tuned for that. So tabayanan na lang po sa ating page. Thanks a lot, Sean. We'll see you soon.
All right,
thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Stay
guys.
safe.
Thank you so
much.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.